Chapter 194. Inside the Blue Moon's Secret Realm. In his previous life, Yuhauran had taken risks and entered many historical remains. He had found many secrets that even martial saints and martial honorables did not know about. Among them, there were records of the heaven and earth nurturing magical weapons. In order to nurture a magical weapon between heaven and earth, the conditions required were harsh. It could even be described as horrifying. In his opinion, the Tianxian continent, whose environment and spiritual energy had been greatly damaged, did not have the conditions to nurture a magical weapon. Therefore, how could he believe the information that Zhao Zong had just provided? Yuhauran, don't be anxious. Let's listen to the kid first. Contrary to Yuhauran's expectations, not only did the tower spirit not think that Zhao Zhuangjian's words were false, it even believed that the artifact that was birthed by the heavens and earth was about to be born. Otherwise, with the concealment of magical weapons nurtured by heaven and earth, how would the person behind Zhao Zong know about this information? If things were really as he had guessed, then as long as he could obtain that magic weapon that was nurtured by nature, it would not be an exaggeration to say that Yuhauran's trip to the secret realm this time could be described as a successful one. Yu Shixiang, to be honest, I can't be 100% sure whether the information about the magical weapon nurtured by heaven and earth is true or not. Because this information was personally told to me and the other core disciple before we left. He also asked us to ignore any treasures in the secret realm and only fight for that magical weapon. Yuhauran's doubts were not out of Zhao Zong's expectations. He himself did not believe this information. However, Zhao Ji's tone and attitude when he gave the order made him have no choice but to carry out this mission. It was also because of this mission that he was unable to fight for the elixirs in the secret realm that could increase his cultivation and strength. In the end, he turned his attention to Gong Sun Yiming. Seeing that Zhao Zong did not reveal any information about the magical weapon, Thaling could not help but ask, Yuhauran, ask about the shape of the magical weapon. Zhao Zong, did Zhao Zong mention anything about the shape or characteristics of that artifact? Although he didn't believe in the existence of that magic tool, since Thaling was interested, Yuhauran could only try his best to satisfy his request. A bell similar to the sex alarm. After thinking carefully, Zhao Zong explained. Zhong. Zhong. After hearing the shape of the magic tool, Yuhauran and Thaling repeated at the same time. Thaling repeated. He was searching for information about the bell-shaped artifact. The reason why Yuhauran repeated this sentence was because after his rebirth, he had always wanted to refine a type of magic tool. It was also shaped like a bell. Originally, he didn't have the slightest bit of faith in the artifact nurtured by heaven and earth. Now, he changed his mind. Regardless of whether that magic tool was nurtured by heaven and earth or was left behind by an ancestor who had entered a secret training ground, as long as he could obtain that bell and use it as a foundation to integrate origin crystals and various other materials, he would be able to continuously increase the power of the magic tool. In the end, it might even reach the legendary grade. Zhao Zong, go! Actually, after learning about the empty still fruit, Yuhauran had already decided to let Zhao Zong live. However, he wanted to maximize his benefits, so he had not relented. Now, he was very satisfied with the 4 pieces of information that Zhao Zong had provided. He would definitely keep his promise. Seeing that Yuhauran had kept his promise, Zhao Zong was overjoyed. His face immediately revealed an expression of gratitude. Thank you, Yu Shixiang. Zhao Zong, before I leave, let me give you a word of advice. Any scheme or idea is like a thin piece of paper in the face of absolute power. It can be torn apart with a light tear. I hope you can take care of yourself. Perhaps it was because the 4 pieces of information that Zhao Zong had provided were too important. They were information that he had never understood in his previous life. This made him feel a trace of gratitude towards Zhao Zong. It was also because of this trace of gratitude that he didn't want to face Zhao Zong in the future. Therefore, before he left, he couldn't help but give him a kind word of advice. "Thank you, Yu Shixiang, for your reminder. I will remember it." Zhao Zong cupped his hands with a sincere expression and turned to leave. Seeing Zhao Zong turn and leave quickly, Yu Haoran couldn't help but shake his head. The 100 years of experience in his previous life had trained him to have a pair of discerning eyes. Although Zhao Zong agreed readily, a trace of disdain flashed across his eyes inadvertently. This showed that he didn't take his kind words to heart. Yu Haoran was only a little disappointed with this, but he didn't take it to heart. Since he had let him live, it also offset the value of the 4 pieces of information just now. If he continued to harm him, then the next time they met, he would either continue to force him to reveal more important information or take his life directly. "Let's capture the white jade dragon python alive first." Returning to Gong Sun Yiming and Wu Jingjuan's side, Yu Haoran looked at Gong Sun Yiming's expectant eyes and nodded directly. "Thank you, Yu Shixiang, thank you, Yu Shixiang." Seeing that Yu Haoran was willing to temporarily give up the fight for the empty silence fruit and the spirit vein and focus on dealing with the white jade dragon python, how could Gong Sun Yiming not know his intentions? Regarding this, he could only feel gratitude in his heart. "Junior brother Gong Sun, what should we do with these people?" Interrupting Gong Sun Yiming's excitement, Yu Haoran pointed at the more than 50 ancient town sect disciples behind him and asked. To be honest, if it wasn't because he wanted to rope in Gong Sun Yiming and Gong Sun Yuding to join Clear Cloud Peak and increase Clear Cloud Peak's foundation, he wouldn't be willing to bring Gong Sun Yiming to hunt the white jade dragon python at all. After all, the white jade dragon python's body contained the blood essence of the divine dragon bloodline. It would bring unimaginable benefits to both him and Wu Jingjiun. Even bringing Gong Sun Yiming along was a little unwilling, let alone bringing more than 50 people with him. "Yu Shixiang, leave it to me." Since he had already decided to hunt the white jade dragon python, Gong Sun Yiming had already made a decision in his heart. Therefore, he turned around and instructed the more than 50 junior brothers of the same sect. "Next, I will follow Yu Shixiang to find an opportunity. You can either stay here and wait for me for a few days or go and find your own opportunities. Senior brother Gong Sun, if you leave, what will we do if we encounter danger?" A disciple who was only a first-grade martial warrior asked with a panicked expression. "That's right. Back then, the elder asked you to protect our safety. If you abandon us now, how are you going to explain to the elder after the training in the secret realm ends?" Another disciple who was at the peak of a 7th-grade martial warrior threatened. "Since you have decided to enter the Blue Moon secret realm to train, you should be prepared to face the threat of death. Furthermore, as I said earlier, you can stay here and wait for me for a few days. After I obtain the white jade dragon python's birth, I will return immediately. If you are worried about encountering danger, you can also go to the sect's designated safe area and wait for the Blue Moon secret realm to close." Chapter 195. In the Blue Moon secret realm. No. Unfortunately, Gong Sun Yiming's patient persuasion was not accepted by the juniors present. A few disciples with deep backgrounds directly tore away all pretenses and threatened him. "Gong Sun Yiming, if you dare to abandon us to hunt the white jade python alone, then after the secret realm trial ends, I will definitely complain to the elders and sect master that you disregarded the safety of your fellow disciples for your own selfish reasons. Senior brother Tianyuan is right. I will definitely explain everything that happened today to master in detail and immediately cancel the promise we made back then. Senior brother Tianyuan and senior brother Donglin are right. If any accidents happen to us in the future, all the responsibility will be on you, Gong Sun Yiming." Faced with the threats of the juniors with deep backgrounds, Gong Sun Yiming's lungs nearly exploded from anger. However, he, who was restrained in all aspects, did not dare and could not ignore the threats of these juniors. This was because he knew very well that these juniors with deep backgrounds were a group of people who would do what they said. They might even add oil to the fire to exaggerate the truth. Seeing Gongsun Yiming, whose talent and potential were not inferior to that of a peerless genius, and whose strength had reached the middle stage of second-grade martial master, not only was he threatened by a group of cowards, but he also did not dare to refute or refuse. Yu Haoran could not understand, and his opinion of Gongsun Yiming also changed slightly. The path of cultivation was about bravely moving forward without fear of death. For someone like Gongsun Yiming, who was full of worries and had a fearful personality, the martial king realm was his limit. To the reborn Yu Haoran, the martial king realm was only the starting point of the path of cultivation. As for the disciples of the Qingyun faction, the martial saint realm was the lowest requirement to become a disciple of the Qingyun peak. Therefore, the disappointed Yu Haoran said to Wu Jingjun, "Let's go." However, Gongsun Yiming's talent and potential were extremely outstanding. In addition, his sister, Gongsun Yuding, would become an expert whose name would shake the profound sky continent in the future. In order to strengthen the foundation of Qingyun Peak and to have more powerful help on the road to war in the future, he didn't want to give up Gongsun Yiming for the time being. He wanted to give him a choice that could make him make up his mind to keep him. Therefore, even though he was leaving, his pace was very slow. Seeing Yu Haoran leave in displeasure, Gongsun Yiming raised his arm and opened his mouth. But in the end, he helplessly put down his arm with a bitter smile on his face. 1 step. 2nd step. 3 steps. As Yu Haoran slowly walked away, he counted to 3 in his heart, hoping that he would be able to make a decision before he took the 4th step. However, Gongsun Yiming's choice made Yu Haoran very disappointed, and he completely gave up on the idea of keeping Gongsun Yiming. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran directly mobilized his elemental energy, and then used his initial stage gale steps to rush towards the spring where the white jade dragon python lived. Looking at the disappointed Yu Haoran speeding away, Wu Jingjun shook his head and sighed at Gongsun Yiming, then increased his speed to catch up. Looking at Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun, who were speeding away, Gongsun Yiming finally sighed. He had lost half of his energy in an instant. Looking up at his junior who had just threatened him, Gongsun Yiming didn't say anything, and directly walked towards the depths of the secret territory. However, no one noticed that when Gongsun Yiming turned around, a trace of coldness flashed across his eyes. "Yu Shixiang, I remember you saying before that the Tianxian continent lacks everything, but it doesn't lack geniuses. Why do you have to make yourself so unhappy because of Gongsun Yiming?" Wu Jingjun, who had been following Yu Haoran the whole time, finally couldn't help but comfort him when he saw that he was depressed and didn't say anything for a long time. "Jingjun, I'm fine." Yu Haoran took a deep breath and said with a smile. At the same time, because of Wu Jingjuan's words, he had completely dispelled the depression in his heart. In the beginning, he had never thought of roping in Gongsun Yiming and his sister. However, after meeting Gongsun Yiming by accident, he suddenly had a thought. Although Gongsun Yiming and his sister joining Qingyun Peak could increase the foundation of Qingyun Peak, it was also an opportunity for the siblings. Even if the siblings didn't join Qingyun Peak, the Tianxian continent had countless geniuses, and Qingyun Peak wouldn't lose the opportunity to increase their foundation. After thinking through all of this, Yu Haoran's depression was completely swept away. Then, he grabbed Wu Jingjuan's arm and sped towards the stream where the white jade dragon python lived. Looking at the bottomless stream, Zhou Mengyao holds a black birth ball tightly. She hesitates. She doesn't know whether she should throw the black birth ball into the stream or not. Junior Lin, although that beast's strength isn't high, it's naturally cunning and good at swimming. If we don't use the black birth ball to force it out, we can forget about getting the white jade dragon python's essence blood. Seeing the hesitant look on Lin Mingyao's face, a handsome young man, who was standing on a green boulder 3 meters away, quickly reminded her. Senior Go, we don't know how deep the stream is. If the black birth ball can't force the white jade dragon python out, then wouldn't it be a waste of such a precious treasure? Lin Mengyao, who was still hesitant, immediately made up her mind after hearing the other person's urgent advice. She put away the black birth ball and indicated that she didn't want to waste such a precious treasure. Seeing Lin Mengyao put away the black birth ball, martial artist Go's face flashed with a trace of unwillingness. But immediately after, his eyes turned and an excited expression appeared on his face. Junior Lin, the white jade dragon python's essence blood contains a trace of the divine dragon's bloodline. The divine dragon is born with the ability to summon the wind and summon the rain. If you can obtain the white jade dragon python's essence blood, not only will you be able to break through to the peak of 4th grade martial warrior, but your light wind palm will also break through to the realm of great accomplishment. With the cultivation of a peak 4th grade martial warrior and your light wind palm at the realm of great accomplishment, Junior Lin's strength might be able to reach the early stages of 7th grade martial warrior. What the warrior surnamed Go had just said was the important reason why Zhou Mengyao hesitated just now. Ever since she learned that there was a 9th grade 7th grade white jade dragon python in the Blue Moon secret realm, Lin Mengyao had the idea of killing it and obtaining its blood. This was because the white jade dragon python's essence blood contained the divine dragon's bloodline. In addition to the effects that martial artist Go had mentioned, it also had the effect of fixing one's appearance. To a girl, a young and beautiful appearance was an irresistible temptation. Chapter 196. In the Blue Moon Secret Realm. Zhou Mengyao doesn't know this senior fellow apprentice surnamed Go. However, she has known him for almost half a day. She has basically seen through his personality. Not only was this person sinister and cunning, he was also extremely lecherous. Furthermore, through her probing words, she could basically confirm that this senior brother Go was the one who had purposely revealed the news of the 9th level 7th grade white jade dragon python in the Blue Moon secret realm. The 3 senior brothers who had promised to help her kill the white jade dragon python were probably arranged by this senior brother Go. All the signs indicated that this senior brother Go did not have any good intentions towards her. Fortunately, the cautious Lin Mengyao had obtained a black birth ball from a young deacon of the sect before entering the Blue Moon secret realm. This ball was powerful enough to kill a peak martial master, and she had always held it in her hand. This was why her opponent had not made a move. Beauty, cultivation, and martial skills, compared to her own innocence, it was simply worthless. Therefore, when she saw the lecherous look in Go's eyes, she immediately made up her mind. Senior brother Go, since I am unable to force the white jade dragon python to leave the stream, it means that I am not fated with it. Since we are not fated, I plan to leave this place and try my luck elsewhere. Although she did not say it explicitly, the meaning behind her words was clear. She, Lin Mengyao, did not want to be with Go anymore. Junior sister Lin, it just so happens that your senior brother also wants to try his luck elsewhere. Why don't we continue to travel together? As if he did not understand the meaning behind Lin Mengyao's words, Go put away the unwillingness in his heart and thickened his skin to continue to be with Lin Mengyao. Senior brother Go, before I entered the Blue Moon secret realm, I made an agreement with a senior brother that we would meet at a place one day after the secret realm opened. It's almost the agreed time now. It's not convenient for senior brother Go to follow me. Seeing that senior brother Go was still shamelessly pestering her, Lin Mengyao gritted her teeth in hatred. However, she did not dare to anger him. This was because the cultivator surnamed Go had not only reached the peak of 9th grade martial warrior, but his true strength had also reached the middle stage of 2nd grade martial warrior. Zhou Mengyao is worried that if she pushes Lin Luoran too much, he will try his best to deal with her. Even though she has the black birth ball to protect her, it can't guarantee her safety. Junior apprentice sister Lin, is it really inconvenient? The cultivator surnamed Go asked gloomily. Seeing Lin Mengyao standing there silently with her head lowered, the cultivator surnamed Go still had a smile on his face. However, the slight upturn of his lips showed that his patience had basically reached its limit. Hee. Just as Lin Mengyao was caught in a dilemma, she suddenly heard a mocking laugh. As the saying goes, one's appearance comes from one's heart. Goen, not only is your surname Go, but you are also cruel and unscrupulous. Lin Mingyao's face lit up when she heard the familiar teasing sound. She looked up. However, when she saw that there were only Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun, her happy face suddenly turned cold, and she scolded them coldly. Yu Haoran, haven't I already told you that I have no interest in you? Leave here now. Goen, who had been humiliated, stared at Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun with a murderous look in his eyes. However, when he heard Lin Mingyao's scolding, a murderous look flashed across his eyes. Then, he looked at Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun with a smile. Yu Haoran was stunned by Lin Mingyao's sudden change of expression, but when he saw the murderous look in Goen's eyes, he immediately understood why she suddenly changed her expression. Yu Haoran was touched by Lin Mingyao's kindness, but the emotional hurt he had suffered in his previous life could not be healed by kindness once or twice. Therefore, he did not rekindle his love for Lin Mengyao. Of course, he did not accept her kind reminder either. Shaking his head at Lin Mengyao, Yu Haoran came to her side with Wu Jingjun, glanced at the blackbirth ball in her hand, and reminded her. As a one-time explosive, the blackbirth ball in your hand is not very stable. If it shakes for a long time, it is likely to cause the 9 poisonous energies in the blackbirth ball to conflict with each other, and it will eventually explode. Moreover, the blackbirth ball in your hand is obviously made by an ordinary Grandmaster alchemist, so it is even less stable. If you trust me, you'd better put away the blackbirth ball now. Otherwise, it will explode in at most 6 hours. In his previous life, as the Pill Emperor who was proficient in alchemy, Yu Haoran had refined the blackbirth ball more than once. At his peak, he had even refined a blackbirth ball that could kill an early-stage Martial Saint Realm expert. Therefore, he was very familiar with the blackbirth ball. With just a glance, he could tell the grade of the blackbirth ball, the refining method, the power after refining, and the quality of the blackbirth ball. The blackbirth ball in Zhou Mingyao's hand is no doubt a defective one. It is not qualified at all. This is my life-saving talisman. Glancing at Goen and the blackbirth ball in her hand, Lin Mengyao did not listen to Yu Haoran's reminder and immediately put away the blackbirth ball. Instead, she directly pointed out the use of the blackbirth ball. I understand. Nodding, Yu Haoran indicated that he understood the meaning of her words. Then, he turned his head and coldly stared at Goen. Goen, Lin Mengyao may not know your origin, but I know your background very well. If you don't want to die, get out of my way. Just like what he had said to Lin Mengyao, she may not know who Goen was, nor did she know his background, but Yu Haoran knew it very well. The handsome young man in front of him, who had a feminine temperament, was the strongest martial warrior from Cloud Listening Peak. He was also the most valued disciple of Cloud Listening Peak's Peak Master. However, Goen was very lecherous. With his outstanding talent and potential, as well as his superior strength, very few female disciples of Cloud Listening Peak and Trial Peak could escape from his evil clutches. Moreover, Yu Haoran knew that Goen was extremely lucky in this trial in the Blue Moon Secret Realm and obtained several top spiritual herbs and fruit. After the trial in the Secret Realm, his cultivation directly broke through the Martial Master Realm. 1 year later, his cultivation broke through the Martial Guru Realm, which caused a great sensation in the entire 100 Chi Gate. The reason why Yu Haoran knew Goen so well was not because of Goen's luck or his achievements, but because of Lin Mengyao. After all, as the most beautiful woman in the 100 Chi Gate, how could the lecherous Goen let her go easily? Therefore, the two of them had been fighting openly and secretly for a long time. If eldest senior fellow apprentice had not been secretly protecting her at that time, she would have been secretly killed by the ruthless Gowan. Chapter 197. In the Blue Moon's Secret Realm. Boy, tell me your name. Looking at the young faces of Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun, Gowan carefully recalled some information about opponents who could pose a threat to him in the younger generation of the sect, but he found that no one matched the appearance and temperament of the young man in front of him. In other words, the young man in front of him did not have the strength to threaten him. However, judging from Yu Haoran's teasing when he first appeared and his behavior of ignoring him just now, Gowan felt that the young man in front of him either had an extraordinary background or had the means to deal with him. Therefore, he, who was cautious by nature, needed to know the background of the young man before taking action. I'm Yu Haoran, the 9th disciple of Martial King Wei of the Qingyun Peak. Yu Haoran introduced himself without hiding his identity and background. It's you. Seeing that the young man in front of him was the second person he planned to find after entering the Blue Moon's secret realm, Gowan couldn't help but be excited. Zhao Zong and Zhao Sinyu's plan was to deal with all the disciples of the 100 Qi Gate who entered the Blue Moon's secret realm. As the most powerful person of the younger generation of Qingyun Peak, Gowan was specially reminded by Zhao Zong. After entering the Blue Moon's secret realm, Zhao Zong did not immediately go to find Yu Haoran mainly because of two considerations. First, he had the same idea as those top disciples. He would fight for the storage celestial devices after finishing his personal affairs. Second, in his opinion, although the storage celestial devices were important, the beautiful woman was more important. Moreover, the beautiful woman was a peerless beauty with the 9 returning apertures body, whose value was 10 times, dozens of times, or even 100 times more than the storage celestial devices. Based on these two considerations, Zhao Zong directly went to find Lin Mengyao after entering the secret realm and let go of Yu Haoran for the time being. Boy, I'll give you two choices now. After learning the true identity of Yu Haoran, Gowan, who was a little nervous, immediately relaxed and then ordered in a very arrogant and overbearing tone. You can either obediently hand over the treasures on your body and get the hell out of here, or I'll personally go and take the treasure. In the end, I'm afraid you won't be able to keep your life. Unfortunately, Yu Haoran ignored Gowan's two choices, because he was now explaining to Wu Jingjun. Jingjun, it's not that I don't agree with your request, but that you're no match for Gowan at all. Gowan, the strongest martial warrior of the younger generation on Qingyun Peak. He's at the peak of the 9th grade martial warrior and has the strength of a mid-2nd grade martial master. Meanwhile, Gowan is not only powerful but also extremely fast. According to what I know, his movement technique has already reached the peak of the mastery stage. Otherwise, with his lecherous character, he would have been killed countless times already. Alas, Wu Jingjun didn't care about the strongest of the younger generation on Qingyun Peak. In fact, he was looking forward to exchanging blows with him to test his own strength. However, in the face of a movement technique at the peak of the mastery stage, Gowan could only sigh unwillingly. After all, even the disciples at the peak of the 9th grade martial warrior of the sect master's faction with average strength could play tricks on him with their speed. It would not be difficult for Gowan, who was even faster, to defeat or even kill him. Thinking of this, Gowan's desire for speed had reached its limit. Damn it! Seeing that Yu Haoran ignored the two choices he had just given and chatted with Wu Jingjun, Gowan couldn't help but roar furiously. Yu Haoran, which one do you choose? Gowan, I'll give you two choices now. Yu Haoran stretched his neck and said with a smile. You can either obediently hand over the treasures on your body and get the hell out of here, or I'll take the treasures myself, but I'm afraid you'll lose your life in the end. Yu Haoran repeated the same conditions word for word. Although he didn't give a clear choice, his attitude couldn't be more obvious. Good, very good. After gnashing his teeth and saying good twice in a row, Gowen's body swayed slightly. Then, a claw with 3 bent fingers appeared in front of Yuhauran's chest. However, the claw didn't directly pinch Yuhauran's heart as Gowen had imagined. Instead, it seemed to hit a residual shadow. Oh no! Seeing Yuhauran gradually disappear in front of him, Gowen thought to himself, oh no! Then, without any hesitation, he disappeared from where he was in an instant with the movement technique at the peak of the mastery stage. As soon as he disappeared, a kick appeared behind his butt in an instant. Although Gowen reacted quickly, the kick still hit his butt because of the short attack distance and the surprise attack. Fortunately, his reaction and speed were both very fast. Although he was kicked in the butt, he didn't suffer any injuries. Gowen, who was lucky enough to escape the attack, looked solemnly at Yuhauran, who was standing in the same place as if he had never moved. If all the disciples of the younger generation on the 37 peaks of the 100 Chi Gate were ranked by strength, Gowen could barely squeeze into the top 10. However, if Gowen claimed to be the second in speed, no one would dare to claim to be the first. However, Gowen, who had maintained the first place in speed for more than half a year, lost his advantage in front of Yuhauran now. This made Gowen, who was originally very relaxed, look solemn and secretly nervous. Although it was just a round of fighting, the speed shown by Yuhauran and Gowen made Wu Jingjun and Lin Mengyao quite solemn. No wonder Yu Shixiang didn't let them fight. It turned out that their speed had reached such a terrifying level. Although their strength could reach the middle stage of the second-level martial master after activating their bloodthirsty physique, facing Gowen's unpredictable speed, they might not be able to resist several moves. For Lin Mengyao, besides feeling lucky, she was even more shocked. Thinking of the speed shown by Gowen just now, Lin Mengyao knew that although he was afraid of the black birth ball in her hand, he could still dodge it. The reason why Gowen chose to be patient for the time being was that he was looking for an opportunity to snatch the black birth ball when she relaxed her attention. If she lost the black birth ball that could protect her, with the strength and speed of her opponent, she could only be at his mercy. However, compared with Gowen's temporary forbearance, Lin Mengyao was more shocked by Yuhauran's speed and the kick that hit Gowen. After all, the two of them had joined the 100 Chi Gate at the same time. Although they had joined different factions and enjoyed different cultivation treatments, they had only been separated for more than a month. Chapter 198. In the Blue Moon's Secret Realm. But what about Yuhauran? Although she couldn't see through his current cultivation, the fact that he could use his speed to kick Gowen was enough to show that his cultivation wasn't low. She just didn't know what grade of martial warrior he had reached. Thinking of this, Lin Mengyao couldn't help but ask Wu Jingjun for confirmation. Wu Jingjun, is it convenient for you to reveal your current cultivation? She thought that after Yuhauran defeated or killed Gowen, he would definitely hunt the White Jade Dragon Python. With the strength of the White Jade Dragon Python at the 7th grade of the 9th level, there was no need for Yuhauran to personally make a move. If he made a move himself, he would definitely reveal his cultivation. Therefore, Wu Jingjun didn't hide anything and replied, "The cultivation of a peak 9th grade martial warrior." However, he still maintained a trace of vigilance and didn't reveal the grade of his physical body. It could be considered as a trump card. Then, what about Yu Shixiang? After hearing Wu Jingjun's answer, Lin Mengyao opened her mouth in shock. However, she was more curious about Yuhauran's cultivation, so she forcibly suppressed the shock in her heart and continued to ask. As early as half a month ago, Yu Shixiang's cultivation had already reached the limit of a peak 9th grade martial warrior. However, in order to train in the Blue Moon Secret Realm, he had been suppressing his breakthrough. When talking about his own cultivation, Wu Jingjun's introduction was very brief. However, when he introduced Yuhauran's cultivation, not only did his tone contain a trace of excitement, The content of his introduction was also more detailed. If Yu Haoran was by his side at this moment, he didn't need to think too much to know what Wu Jingjun was thinking. It was nothing more than wanting to pull strings for him and increase Lin Mengyao's favorable impression of him. Lin Mengyao tightly covered her small mouth with her snow-white hands as she stared at Yu Haoran. Her mood was fluctuating like a tidal wave. After more than a month of hard work, his cultivation rose from the peak of the 9th-grade martial disciple to the peak of the 3rd-grade martial warrior. As for Yu Haoran, either he flipped over the achievement hall, or he killed his way to the law enforcement peak. It was as if he had never heard of this before. He had worked hard to cultivate, but his cultivation had gone from the peak of the 9th-grade martial disciple to the peak of the 9th-grade martial warrior. The huge gap between her and Yu Haoran caused Lin Mengyao to begin to doubt herself. She doubted her master and her father. She doubted whether their arrangements for her cultivation were correct. "Kid, you are the only one among the younger generation of the 100 Qi Gate who can match my speed. You should feel honored." After taking a deep breath and forcibly suppressing the humiliation he felt when he was kicked in the butt, Goen said calmly. "However, I was careless just now and only used half of my true speed. Next, I will let you truly experience how terrifying the speed of a movement technique at the peak of the greater mastery stage is." Yu Haoran sneered disdainfully at Goen's trick, but he didn't refute it. Instead, he planned to use his speed to slap Goen in the face and let him know the true speed of a movement technique at the peak of the greater mastery stage. Looking at Yu Haoran with a smile on his face, Goen felt a little uneasy, but he didn't know the source of this uneasiness. However, he, who was good at using speed, knew that he could only use his movement technique to eliminate this uneasy threat. As long as he moved, no threat could hurt him. Thinking of this, Goen directly mobilized 10% of his original energy and then used his movement technique at the peak of the greater mastery stage. However, as soon as he moved, a heavy punch that made him feel a fatal threat quietly appeared on his left shoulder. Being hit by the wind of the punch, Goen felt a sharp pain in his left shoulder, which made him realize how powerful Yu Haoran's punch was. Looking at Goen, who was lucky enough to dodge his punch, Yu Haoran sighed in his heart, but he was not very disappointed. If he hadn't intended to go easy on Goen, if he hadn't aimed at Goen's left shoulder but at his vital part, Goen would have been able to dodge the punch. No matter how fast Goen's reaction and speed were, he couldn't have dodged Goen's punch at full speed. Looking at Goen, who kept dodging with his movement technique, Yu Haoran knew what he was thinking after thinking for a while. Yu Haoran could only shake his head and smile. Then he put his hands behind his back and looked at Goen with a smile. He didn't continue to attack Goen. At the beginning, with his abundant physical strength and original energy, Goen could exert 100% of his speed. However, as his physical strength and original energy decreased rapidly, his dodging speed became slower and slower. Looking at Yu Haoran, who put his hands behind his back and looked unfathomable, Goen became more and more anxious. At the same time, he knew that he had made a mistake. In other words, he had been fooled by Yu Haoran. Who would have thought that Yu Haoran, who had just shown his terrifying speed and strength, would suddenly choose to stop? Goen had been wasting his physical strength and original energy for nothing. At this moment, due to the severe consumption of his physical strength and original energy, Goen couldn't continue to exert his speed at the peak of the profound realm. On the other hand, Yu Haoran was different. Although he hadn't attacked Goen, his physical strength and original energy were not consumed at all. Their speeds were almost the same. Goen had consumed too much of his original energy, while Goen didn't. Therefore, Goen wanted to retreat immediately. However, in order to avoid being seen through by Yu Haoran, Goen summoned the remaining half of his original energy and exerted a martial technique made of original energy. He used the martial technique to create an eagle to attract Yu Haoran's attention. Then, he used all his remaining original energy to escape into the depths of the secret realm. Looking at the giant eagle created by the martial technique, Yu Haoran just waved his sleeve, and a powerful force directly scattered the eagle. Then, he watched Goen escape. Seeing Goen fleeing quickly, Wu Jingjun flashed to Yu Haoran's side and hurriedly reminded him, "Yu Shixiang, shall we chase after him?" Shaking his head, Yu Haoran signaled that there was no need to chase after him. In fact, with his strength and means, it was not difficult for him to kill Goen. The reason why he went easy on Goen during the fight just now was that he wanted to spare Goen's life. In his previous life, Yu Haoran and Goen had many conflicts because of Lin Mengyao. In order to know the details of his opponent, Yu Haoran had carefully investigated Goen. Through careful investigation, he knew Goen's final harvest in the Blue Moon secret realm this time. Among Goen's harvest, there were 2 kinds of spiritual herbs among the 107 auxiliary herbs that he needed to refine the mysterious void pill. Moreover, the 2 spiritual herbs were of excellent quality and could improve the quality of the mysterious void pill. Therefore, he needed Goen to make use of the remaining time to continue to search for his own opportunities and then secretly kill Goen before the secret realm closed. In this way, he could eliminate the hidden dangers and seize the 2 top spiritual herbs. Chapter 199. Inside the Blue Moon Secret Realm. That's right. Looking at Yu Haoran with a complicated expression, Lin Mengyao forced herself to calm down before nodding her head. Yu Shixiang, the white jade dragon python that contains the bloodline of the divine dragon, has a natural affinity with wind and water. Therefore, I hope to use the white jade dragon python's essence blood to further increase my comprehension of the light wind palm. In response to Lin Mingyao's explanation, Yu Haoran first nodded his head in agreement. Junior sister Lin, you're right. The essence blood of the white jade dragon python can indeed increase your comprehension of the light wind palm. However, speaking of this, Yu Haoran raised his head to take a look at the stream. Then, he turned to Zhou Mengyao and continued. If you only want to use the essence blood of the white jade dragon python to comprehend the light wind palm, it is actually not the best choice. This is because the essence blood is only a small part of the reason why the white jade dragon python has a natural affinity with wind and water. After the white jade dragon python becomes a flood dragon, the real reason why it can soar through the clouds and summon the wind and rain is because of its eyes. No matter if it was a snake or a python or a flood dragon, Yu Haoran had a better understanding of them and knew some of their characteristics. In order to repay Lin Mengyao for reminding him before entering the Blue Moon secret realm, Yu Haoran not only revealed the true treasure that could help her improve her martial skills, but also decided to personally help her obtain the white jade dragon python's eyes. It's true. She had heard the news about the white jade dragon python's essence blood from Goen and her master. However, no matter if it was her master who treated her like a mother or Goen who had ill intentions towards her, neither of them had mentioned that the true treasure that could help her improve her light wind palm was the white jade dragon python's eyes. She didn't know if they didn't know or if they were deliberately hiding this information. That's right. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran saw Lin Mengyao frown. He knew that she was doubting what he had just said, so he reminded her. Junior sister Lin, if you don't believe what I just said, you can go to the Achievement Hall's Technique Pavilion after the trial in the Blue Moon Secret Realm ends. You can search for a book that specifically records the white jade dragon python. There are very detailed records in it. Of course, to prevent you from mistakenly thinking that I have some unspeakable secret, you can take away a pair of eyes and a portion of the dragon python's blood essence after killing the white jade dragon python. If it wasn't for the sake of repaying her kindness, just based on Lin Mingyao's earlier suspicion that he was sincere in helping her, Yu Haoran would have already turned hostile and kicked her out. No, Yu Shixiang, don't misunderstand. How can I not believe you? Lin Mengyao hurriedly explained after hearing the dissatisfaction in Yu Haoran's tone. Regarding this, Yu Haoran did not pay any attention to it. Instead, he walked to the side of the spring. He reached out his hand and picked up a huge rock that was about 1 meter tall and 2 meters wide. Then, he ruthlessly threw it at the spring. After waiting for the huge rock to sink into the spring for a minute, there was still no movement at the bottom of the spring. Yu Haoran could not help but laugh as he scolded. "What a cunning beast! I didn't think that you would have such a cautious and cunning nature even though your grade is not high." Following this, Yu Haoran took out 3 elixirs that emitted a faint odor from his storage ear. Then, he turned his head and said to Lin Mengyao, "Junior sister Lin, give me the black birth ball in your hand." The black birth ball was the method that Lin Mengyao dared to explore the secret realm alone with her 3rd-grade martial warrior cultivation. It could be said to be a life-saving trump card in her hand. However, in the face of Yu Haoran's request, she did not hesitate and directly handed it to Yu Haoran. Using his elemental energy, he directly shattered the 3 elixirs and then used his elemental energy to fuse the elixirs into the black birth ball. "Yu Shixiang, be careful." Seeing Yu Haoran actually fusing the elixirs into the black birth ball, Lin Mengyao, who knew the power of the black birth ball, was shocked and quickly warned him. "Don't worry." Without turning his head, Yu Haoran arrogantly replied, "I am the ancestor of the black birth ball. Even if it wants to self-destruct, it has to ask for my permission first." Although Yu Haoran's reply was arrogant, Lin Mengyao and Wu Jingjun did not feel a trace of disgust. In fact, they even felt that he was being modest. After the elixirs were completely fused into the black birth ball, Yu Haoran took out a low-grade Grandmaster stage sword from his storage ring and carefully cut off some of the black powder. Then, he directly threw the black birth ball to Lin Mengyao and warned her. "The elixirs that I fused into the black birth ball will help to stabilize the energy within. For the next period of time, if you don't use your elemental energy to stimulate it, it will definitely not self-destruct." "Thank you, Yu Shixiang." Lin Mengyao was skeptical of Yu Haoran's assessment of the black birth ball's instability. However, after fusing the elixirs with the elixirs, she was completely convinced by Yu Haoran's assessment of the black birth ball. After throwing the stabilized black birth ball to Lin Mengyao, Yu Haoran's figure flashed and appeared beside the spring. Then, he removed the black powder from the black birth ball into the spring. After the black powder had completely fused with the spring water, Yu Haoran placed his hands behind his back. Then, he stood upright on a large green rock and waited silently. At this moment, a light breeze suddenly blew over, causing Yu Haoran's green robe to flutter slightly, causing him to inadvertently reveal an otherworldly temperament. Looking at Yu Haoran standing on the green rock, Lin Mengyao's eyes suddenly had a trace of indescribable emotion. It didn't take long, only about 30 seconds. As a whirlpool broke the calm water surface, a giant white python that was more than 20 meters long and had a body like white jade slowly emerged from the whirlpool. Without any hesitation, Yu Haoran mobilized all of his elemental energy and combined it with the spring breath from his gentle wind palm to form a tornado. The tornado directly swept towards the white python that had just emerged from the water. As a white jade dragon python that possessed the bloodline of a divine dragon, it could become a rank 7 flood dragon when it reached adulthood. Although it was sly and had outstanding intelligence, when faced with the unique fragrance of the black powder that had fused with the spring water, it couldn't wait to surface. However, it was still a highly intelligent creature. Even if it couldn't resist the temptation of the fragrance, it maintained a high level of vigilance as soon as it emerged from the water. Therefore, when the tornado appeared out of nowhere, the white jade dragon python didn't hesitate at all. It forcefully suppressed the temptation of the fragrance and desperately dove towards the bottom of the spring. Unfortunately, the reason why Yu Haoran used the spring breath to form a tornado instead of a giant palm was because he had considered this problem. Therefore, when the white jade dragon python dived less than a meter into the water, the tornado that had just emerged from the surface of the water immediately formed a powerful rotating force. This powerful rotational force acted on the spring water, causing it to slowly form a rapidly rotating whirlpool. Chapter 200. In the Blue Moon's Secret Realm. Get up here! Seeing the white jade dragon python struggling desperately to break free from the pulling force of the tornado, Yuhauran took advantage of the situation and executed another palm technique. The giant palm formed from elemental energy smashed the tornado apart, and at the same time, it also smashed the white jade dragon python onto the shore and heavily smashed it onto a huge green rock. Just as the white jade dragon python was smashed onto the huge green rock by the palm technique, Wu Jingjun scuttled behind the white jade dragon python in a few steps and blocked its path back to the spring. At the same time, Yuhauran appeared beside the white jade dragon python in a flash. Taking advantage of the time when it was knocked unconscious by the palm technique, he heavily smashed his fist onto its head, causing it to faint completely. After the white jade dragon python had completely fainted, Yuhauran couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Although the white jade dragon python's grade wasn't high and was only at the 7th grade of the 9th level, it possessed the physique of a divine dragon's bloodline, allowing it to unleash more than 10 times its strength in the water. In other words, a cultivation of the 7th grade of the 9th level could unleash the strength of an 8th grade 3rd stage in the spring. At the same time, under the influence of the physique, not only would a human's vision and movements be greatly restricted in the water, even the power of their elemental energy and martial techniques would be weakened. Therefore, if they were to fight in the spring, Yuhauran didn't have full confidence in defeating the white jade dragon python, let alone capturing it alive. Yu Shixiang, let me do it! Looking at the completely unconscious white jade dragon python and turning his head to look at Lin Mengyao, Wu Jingjun walked to Yuhauran's side and asked for instructions. Use this. After taking out a sword-shaped lower-grade Zong realm magic weapon from his storage ear and handing it to Wu Jingjun, Yuhauran indicated for him to use the sword to skin the white jade dragon python and pull out its tendons. Yu Shixiang, how did you and senior brother Wu cultivate? While Wu Jingjun skinned the white jade dragon python and pulled out its tendons, Lin Mengyao walked over to Yuhauran and asked with a dejected expression. After turning his head to glance at Lin Mengyao, Yuhauran withdrew his gaze and said indifferently, hard work, experience, desperation, opportunity, various factors. After hearing Yuhauran's explanation, Lin Mengyao briefly fell into deep thought. Hard work, experience, desperation, and opportunity. According to the 4 factors that Yuhauran had mentioned to increase one's cultivation and strength quickly, and then combined it with her own cultivation, Lin Mengyao realized that other than hard work, she had never experienced the remaining 3 factors. However, tempering, risking one's life, and opportunities were complementary elements. Only in the process of tempering would one put their life on the line, and only in a situation where one put their life on the line could one obtain a heaven-defying opportunity. However, the reality of the situation made it difficult for her to leave the 100 Qi gate alone, so she turned her attention to Yuhauran. Yu Shixiang, if you and senior brother Wu plan to go out in the future, can you bring me along? It depends on the situation. Yuhauran replied indifferently without flatly rejecting or giving a definite answer. Yuhauran's answer clearly dissatisfied Lin Mengyao, but she didn't continue to ask. Instead, she looked at Yuhauran with a very special smile. Out of the corner of his eye, Yuhauran saw the special smile on Lin Mengyao's face and couldn't help but sigh. In his previous life, they had been in love with each other and had been together for almost 2 years. How could he not understand Lin Mengyao's nature? However, the pain he had suffered in his previous life made him harden his heart. He didn't accept Lin Mengyao's smile, and instead walked in front of Wu Jingjun. He took out a pill bottle from his storage ear and forced out 10 drops of blood from the white jade dragon python's heart. Then, he took the white jade dragon python's eyes from Wu Jingjuan's hands and threw the eyes and pill bottle to Lin Mengyao. Junior Sister Lin, your current cultivation is only at the peak of 3rd grade martial warrior, so you are not restricted by the laws of this secret realm. You can use the white jade dragon python's blood and eyes to increase your cultivation and martial skills. After we finish dealing with the white jade dragon python, Jingjun and I still have important matters to attend to, so we will send you to the sex-designated safe zone. After Lin Mengyao took the white jade dragon python's eyes and blood, Yu Haoran began to chase her away. Yu Shixiang, after the secret realm is over and we return to the sect, I will use the white jade dragon python's blood to increase my cultivation. I would like to follow the 2 senior brothers to train. Lin Mengyao said with a smile as she put away the white jade dragon python's eyes and blood. No. Without any hesitation, Yu Haoran shook his head and refused. Yu Shixiang, could it be that you feel that my cultivation is too low and that I will be a burden to you? Seeing Yu Haoran reject her without any hesitation, the smile on Lin Mengyao's face instantly turned into a pitiful look of sadness as she questioned him with an aggrieved tone. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran didn't know how to answer. His cultivation and physical body had both advanced to the complete 10th stage. Other than those special strange beasts, Yu Haoran was confident that he could face any enemy in the Blue Moon secret realm, and he had enough ability to protect anyone. However, the emotional entanglements from his previous life made him unwilling to stay with Lin Mengyao to prevent it from affecting his state of mind. At the same time, he was also afraid that Lin Mengyao's gentleness and her indefensible methods would once again break the emotional defenses that he had built up with great difficulty in his heart. Yu Shixiang, it's fine if you don't want me to train with you, but you must give me a reason that I can accept. Seeing the silent Yu Haoran, Lin Mengyao still had a pitiful look, but a trace of joy rose in her heart. She knew that with her beauty and her tender pleading, no man in this world could refuse her request. However, Yu Haoran's following reply was out of her expectations. Junior Sister Yu, if you don't want to become the sect's public enemy, and if you don't want your sect to be besieged and criticized by the sect's factions, you can train with us. After careful consideration and combining the lessons from his previous life, Yu Haoran finally decided to reject Lin Mengyao's request. Moreover, in the shortest time possible, he thought of a plan to deal with it. Yu Shixiang, what do you mean by that? After becoming the sect's public enemy and facing the besiegement and criticism of the sect's factions, Lin Mengyao was very puzzled by Yu Haoran's words. Junior Sister Lin, Jingjun and I are going to fight for a spiritual medicine. Our enemies, other than the countless strange beasts in the secret realm, are also many of our fellow disciples. And that spiritual medicine is related to whether Jingjun and I can step into a higher and stronger realm in the future. It is a spiritual medicine that we must obtain. Therefore, not only will we slaughter the strange beasts, we will also not be merciful to our fellow disciples. However, there are many people participating in the fight for the spiritual medicine. We cannot guarantee that we will be able to kill all the participants at the scene. Chapter 201. In the Blue Moon Secret Realm, by the Stream. Yu Haoran's explanation made Lin Mengyao fall into deep thought. Qin Yun Peak was not afraid because Yu Haoran had the secret transformation technique. He could overturn the entire sect by himself. Therefore, he could ignore any threats and accusations. But what about Sunset Peak? Without a martial Emperor Realm powerhouse to lead the formation, not to mention the besiegement of the sects, even if any of the 6 major sects were to blame, the Sunset Peak wouldn't be able to bear it. Junior Sister Lin, I have a storage device with all the treasures of the entire law enforcement peak. I am a fat piece of meat in the eyes of all the disciples of the 100 Qi Gate who entered the Blue Moon's secret realm. You were the one who revealed this information to me. Seeing Lin Mengyao fall into deep thought, Yu Haoran decided to add fuel to the fire. At the same time, he wanted to dispel her thoughts of accompanying him. At the same time, he wanted to give her a test to see if she could break through his emotional defenses. In order to protect my storage Dharma artifact, and also for my life, I will kill, behead, destroy, and slaughter anyone who dares to steal my storage Dharma artifact. Yu Shixiang, there is a safe zone designated by the sect 130 miles away from here. I will leave first. Hearing Yu Haoran mention the storage device, Lin Mengyao immediately made up her mind to leave. After all, a storage artifact containing all the treasures in the Law Enforcement Peak's treasury was too tempting. Even a peak third-grade martial warrior like her, who had a good relationship with Yu Haoran, wanted to possess it for herself. Then what about those people who did not understand Yu Haoran's situation or were confident in their own strength? Thinking of the strength that Yu Haoran revealed when he defeated the cultivator surnamed Go, Lin Mengyao knew that among the disciples of the 100 Qi Gate, a large portion of them did not die in the secret realm's strange beasts and natural traps. Instead, they died in the hands of Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun. In order to avoid attracting trouble, and also to not cause trouble for her sect, Lin Mengyao could only choose to leave for the time being. Junior sister Lin, I won't see you off. Yu Haoran cupped his hands and bid farewell with a smile. However, if one observed carefully, one would discover that Yu Haoran's smile had a trace of resolute indifference. Originally, Lin Mengyao's timely reminder of the layout of the secret realm and her kind action towards Zhao Zong had caused a crack in Yu's frozen emotional defense. After all, one's first love was engraved in one's bones and was not something that could be easily forgotten. If Lin Mengyao had continued to persist, Yu Haoran would not have rejected her. Instead, he would have taken her to several places where precious spirit herbs and spirit fruits grew. Then, with the help of those spirit herbs and spirit fruits, he would have helped her improve her cultivation and strength. In fact, if Lin Mengyao's personality had changed even a little bit, Yu Haoran felt that he could have accepted her again. But in the end, looking at Lin Mengyao's departing figure, the cold smile on Yu Haoran's face gradually disappeared. If Lin Mengyao did not notice the resolute indifference in Yu Haoran's smile because of her nature, then Wu Jingjun, who had always regarded Yu Haoran as his backbone, noticed it. Even though he wanted to comfort him, he really did not know what to say when it came to matters of the heart between a man and a woman. He could only think of a way to change the topic. Yu Shixiang, what should we do with the white jade dragon python's corpse and blood essence? Jingjun, no matter if it's our cultivation or the grade of our physical bodies, you and I have already reached the limit of the martial warrior realm. If we continue to improve, we can only break through to the martial master realm. However, the Blue Moon Secret Realm's laws have a restriction on the realm. If we break through to the martial master realm, we'll be courting death. Therefore, we can't consume the white jade dragon python's flesh and blood essence for the time being. After hearing Wu Jingjuan's question, Yu Haoran put away all his thoughts about Lin Mengyao. The resolute and indifferent aura on his body instantly dissipated by a lot. After that, he explained to Wu Jingjun as he kept the white jade dragon python's corpse into the pagoda domain. However, once the Blue Moon Secret Realm closes and we return to Clear Cloud Peak, you and I can use the white jade dragon python's flesh and blood essence to break through to the martial master realm in one fell swoop. At the same time, we can also try to break through to the grade of our physical bodies. If your cultivation and the grade of your physical body break through to the martial master realm at the same time, Jingjun, your strength can directly reach the peak of the third grade of martial master. Together with the bloodthirsty physique, your strength can reach the early stage of the fourth grade of martial master. I'll listen to senior brother's arrangements. How to deal with the white jade dragon python's flesh and blood essence was meant to distract Yu Haoran. As for how he wanted to deal with it, Wu Jingjun would not have any opinions. Furthermore, after such a long period of interaction, He knew that Yu Haoran's every allocation was based on his own situation. He would then make the most reasonable and correct arrangement. After leaving Yu Haoran about 50 to 60 kilometers away, Lin Mengyao suddenly stopped in her track. Her face revealed a regretful expression. At this moment, she suddenly realized that she had made a wrong decision. A decision that she might regret for the rest of her life. That's right. The Dusk Peak didn't have a martial emperor powerhouse, so it was difficult to deal with the siege and accusations of the powerful sections. But if the Dusk Peak was besieged and accused by the powerhouses of the sects, then with her friendship with Yu Haoran, he would sit back and do nothing. As long as Yu Haoran stepped forward with his own deterrence, the powerhouses of the sects wouldn't dare to make things too difficult for the Dusk Peak. Moreover, with the deterrence of Yu Haoran, the Dusk Peak situation in the sect in the future would be much better. At least the core disciples of the sects wouldn't dare to blatantly humiliate her senior and junior sisters. Even with her relationship with Yu Haoran, the treatment of the Dusk Peak's disciples and the right to speak in the sect would be greatly improved. However, her choice to protect herself not only cost her the opportunity to improve her cultivation and strength, but she also lost the friendship she had built with Yu Haoran. If she went one step further, she would lose the chance to become his lover. Thinking of this, Lin Mengyao gritted her teeth and stomped her foot. Then, she turned around and went back the way she came. She hoped to admit her mistake and apologize to Yu Haoran face to face, then repair their relationship. As the saying goes, one wrong step leads to many wrong steps. When Lin Mengyao returned to the stream, she only saw the calm stream and a pool of blood on the green boulder on the shore. Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun were long gone. Yu Shixiang, I was wrong this time. If you and I can meet again in the Blue Moon Secret Realm, I will definitely admit my mistake and apologize to you in front of everyone and ask for your forgiveness. If we can't meet again in the Blue Moon Secret Realm, I will definitely ascend the Clear Cloud Peak and admit my mistake and apologize to you in front of your master and other senior brothers. I will beg for your forgiveness. Chapter 202. Inside the Blue Moon Secret Realm. Yu Shixiang, let me make a move. Looking at the villain who was tearing apart the clothes of a female disciple not far away, Wu Jingjun clenched his fists and angrily asked for a fight. If you don't want to be sneak attacked from behind, then you go. Yu Haoran said coldly as he looked at the people who were acting in front of him. Sneak attack from behind. Yu Haoran's reminder just now made Wu Jingjun very puzzled. With his strength as a mid-second grade martial master, the three evildoers in front of him were not even a match for him. Then, who could sneak attack him from behind? Unless... Thinking of this, Wu Jingjun suddenly remembered the word, acting, that Yu Haoran had mentioned. He couldn't help but look at the girl whose clothes had been torn apart. Her appearance and figure were outstanding. Yu Shixiang, don't tell me that the girl who is being humiliated is in cahoots with the three villains? Wu Jingjun asked in disbelief. It seems that you haven't been blinded by the idea of being a hero saving a beauty. Seeing that Wu Jingjun quickly realized the abnormal situation in front of him, Yu Haoran nodded his head in satisfaction. In fact, to be honest, if he didn't know the origins of the four people in front of him and had seen their vicious methods, Yu Haoran couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't fall into their trap when faced with the sudden situation in front of him. After all, being a hero saving a beauty was the dream of almost every man. Not to mention, the girl who was in charge of acting had an outstanding appearance and figure. She was a stunner who could make people want to protect her at first glance. Damn it! After receiving Yu Haoran's confirmation, Wu Jingjun felt hurt. He couldn't help but want to teach those people a lesson. Seeing that Wu Jingjun still wanted to teach them a lesson, Yu Haoran neither agreed nor refused. He didn't agree because he had no conflict with the other party. He didn't have any thoughts or obligations to be chivalrous and help the cultivation world. If Wu Jingjun really wanted to teach them a lesson, then he would rather let Wu Jingjun suffer a loss and let him know that some people, especially women, were the enemies in this world that should be guarded against. The mouth of a green bamboo snake and the sting of a wasp's tail are not poisonous, but the heart of a woman is the most poisonous. Wasn't this a warning left behind by the ancestors using their own experiences to remind the younger generation? Seeing that Yu Haoran didn't refuse, Wu Jingjun activated his special physique and mobilized all of his elemental energy. Then, with a strong killing intent, he charged towards the four people. Seeing Wu Jingjun rush forward impatiently, Yu Haoran couldn't help but shake his head and follow. Although he wanted to teach Wu Jingjun a memorable lesson, he absolutely couldn't let him suffer too much damage. Therefore, Yu Haoran had to maintain a sufficient distance to rescue him. "Young hero, save me!" Seeing Wu Jingjun rushing over in a hurry, the girl whose upper body had been torn apart to the point that only her undergarment was left, pleaded with a pear-blossom face. "You deserve to die." Even though he knew that the girl was in cahoots with the three evildoers, when he saw the girl's delicate and pitiful appearance, Wu Jingjun couldn't help but burn with anger. Seeing Wu Jingjun rush over, one of the onlookers sneered and threatened, "Brat, you dare to meddle in other people's business? I think you're tired of living." However, if one observed carefully, they would discover that his sneer contained a trace of joy from the prey that had taken the bait. Unfortunately, before the joy in his eyes could disappear, a fist containing the power of a mid-second grade martial master heavily smashed into his head before he could even react. Without the slightest pause, he forcefully twisted his body and sent the other opponent, who had been scared silly by the spurting blood and brain matter, flying with a forceful kick. However, judging from the location of the kick that had struck his heart, the fate of the other martial artist was the same as that of the other guy whose head had been smashed. "Senior brother, spare me." Just two simple fist techniques were enough to kill two of his junior brothers, whose cultivation and strength were similar to his. The martial artist who had been tearing the girl's clothes hurriedly put down the clothes in his hands and retreated while begging for mercy. "You deserve to die the most." Faced with his opponent's begging, Wu Jingjun didn't have the slightest intention of showing mercy. The same fist technique heavily smashed into his opponent's head. Although he wanted to dodge, the fist that contained the might of a mid-second grade martial master emitted an intimidating force that made it difficult for him to move his body. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as the iron hammer fist smashed into his head. "Thank you, senior brother, for saving my life." After Wu Jingjun easily killed the third villain, the girl who had fallen to the ground had a trace of fear in her tear-filled eyes. However, when she saw Wu Jingjun's eyes, which were originally filled with killing intent, gradually return to normal, the fear in her eyes instantly disappeared and was replaced by a kind of gentleness like water. "You're welcome. This is what I should do." Although he knew that the girl who had fallen to the ground wasn't a good person, Wu Jingjun still couldn't bear to treat her ruthlessly in the face of her tender gaze. "Senior brother, junior sister's surname is Zhang and her name is Ro. I'm a disciple from the Heart Moon Sect's Jingjie Pavilion." While introducing her background, Zhang Ro picked up the clothes that had fallen to the ground. However, she didn't put them on immediately. Instead, she used the clothes to cover her important parts and then acted as if she wanted to get up. It was unknown whether she had been injured in the struggle or if she had done it on purpose. Just as she was about to stand up, her legs trembled and she fell back. "Be careful." Seeing Zhang Ro fall back, Wu Jingjun reminded her loudly and subconsciously went forward to hug her. At this moment, Yu Haoran secretly mobilized his Yuan Qi and was ready to make a move at any time. "Thank you, senior brother." Seeing that she was hugged by Wu Jingjun, Zhang Ro thanked him gratefully and lowered her head shyly. However, Yu Haoran noticed that the tenderness in Zhang Ro's eyes had long been replaced by a thick murderous intent. At the same time, Yu Haoran also noticed that his left hand, which was originally hidden in his clothes, had quietly pulled out a dagger that emitted a dark cold light. Senior brother, junior sister originally followed a few senior sisters into the Blue Moon secret realm to train. However, 6 hours ago we were separated by a group of strange beasts. Therefore, junior sister is alone in the secret realm that is fraught with danger. As she narrated her tragic experience, Zhang Ro used the corner of her eyes to look at Wu Jingjun. When she realized that Wu Jingjun was at a loss because of her body fragrance, a trace of joy flashed in her eyes. Chapter 203. In the Blue Moon Secret Realm. Ah! Just as the poisonous dagger was about to stab into Wu Jingjuan's heart, a painful scream suddenly rang out. Immediately after, Wu Jingjun realized that Zhang Ro, who was originally being half-carried by him, had risen into the air. "Yu Shixiang, you've gone too far." Seeing Yu Haoran slowly retracting his left leg, how could Wu Jingjun not know the reason why Zhang Ro had risen into the air? Thinking of Zhang Ro's tragic experience and her gentleness, Wu Jingjun felt dissatisfied with Yu Haoran for the first time. It was also the first time he questioned Yu Haoran loudly. Facing Wu Jingjuan's dissatisfaction and doubt for the first time, Yu Haoran didn't get angry. Instead, he nodded his head and praised. "Looks like maintaining the bloodthirsty physique can indeed offset a portion of the power of the soul hooking technique. Yu Shixiang, I'm sorry." Actually, after questioning Yu Haoran, Wu Jingjun felt regret in his heart. Ever since the two of them met, he had never done anything to Yu Haoran. It was always Yu Haoran who brought him to train, explained the various characteristics of the bloodthirsty physique to him, taught him the devouring mystic technique that could increase his cultivation and strength without limit, and gave him the blood essence of exotic beasts, elixirs, and spiritual stones that could further activate the bloodthirsty physique. Why was he suddenly blinded by lard and actually got angry at Yu Shixiang, whom he respected the most? Therefore, he quickly apologized. "It's fine. I'm already very satisfied with your reaction." Shaking his head, Yu Haoran indicated to Wu Jingjun that he didn't need to mind. Seeing that Yu Haoran wasn't angry, Wu Jingjun secretly heaved a sigh of relief. "Yu Shixiang, what is the soul hooking technique you mentioned just now?" This was because he was afraid that his dissatisfaction and doubts would make Yu Haoran angry and create a barrier between them, which would cause their relationship to drift apart. Fortunately, Yu Shixiang was magnanimous and did not care about his rudeness just now. Then, he suddenly remembered that Yu Haoran had mentioned that the bloodthirsty physique could offset a part of the power of the soul hooking technique. The soul enchanting art is a secret art that focuses on seduction and can trigger the most primitive desires in the hearts of living creatures. Most of them are practiced by women with outstanding appearances and figures. They are somewhere between the righteous and the evil. The soul hooking technique was related to a thorn in Yu Haoran's heart. He didn't want to mention it too much, so he only gave a simple introduction. Then, he pointed at the poisoned dagger at Zhang Ro's feet and said, "Jingjun, look. I see." After seeing the poisoned dagger at Zhang Ro's feet, Wu Jingjun finally understood why Yu Haoran had suddenly attacked. It turned out that Zhang Ro wanted to take his life. At the same time, he could understand what Yu Haoran had said at the beginning. If he didn't want to be attacked from behind, it was best not to poke his nose into other people's business. Thinking of this, he blamed himself even more for his actions of questioning Yu Haoran just now. "Yu Shixiang, I'm sorry, I won't do this again." "Jingjun, actually, I already guessed that Zhang Ro would attack you, but I didn't warn you in advance because I wanted you to learn this lesson. I want you to know that although you shouldn't have people who harm you, you should always be on your guard." Seeing that Wu Jingjun finally realized his mistake, Yu Haoran was gratified and couldn't help but exhort him earnestly. "Yu Shixiang, don't worry, your junior brother will always remember this." Wu Jingjun nodded heavily and promised. Okay, to be able to remember this lesson, this adventure was worth it. Yu Haoran nodded and turned around, indicating that he should leave immediately. Yu Shixiang, what about her? Wu Jingjun pointed at Zhang Ro, who was pretending to be unconscious, and asked. According to Wu Jingjuan's character, since she dared to use a poisoned dagger to take his life, then he must crush her bones and scatter her ashes in order to vent the hatred in his heart. Jingjun, let her live. Actually, she is also a pitiful person. Seeing Zhang Ro lying on the grass pretending to be unconscious, Yu Haoran said softly. Zhang Ro, today for Yu Shixiang's sake, I will temporarily let you live, but you better pray that you don't meet me again, otherwise I will definitely not show mercy. Since Yu Haoran had already indicated that he would let her live, then Wu Jingjun could only suppress the anger in his heart. But when he thought about how he had almost lost his life in Zhang Ro's hands, he still felt somewhat unwilling and threatened. Yu Shixiang, please wait a moment. When Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun turned around, intending to use their movement techniques to leave, Zhang Ro, who had been pretending to be unconscious, suddenly opened her eyes and spoke with a worried expression. Speak. Stopping his footsteps, Yu Haoran did not turn around and only asked indifferently, Speak. Yu Shixiang, may I ask if you are Yu Haoran, the 9th disciple of the 100 Qi Gates Qingyun Peaks Wei Martial King? Although he did not turn around, the fact that he could stop his footsteps meant that the young man in front of her was willing to listen to her, so Zhang Ro hurriedly asked. That's right, I am the Yu Haoran you just mentioned. Still not turning his head, Yu Haoran replied with an indifferent expression. Yu Shixiang, according to what I heard from a disciple of the 100 Qi Gates Law Enforcement Peak, you killed your way to the Law Enforcement Peak by yourself some time ago. Not only did you force the Law Enforcement Peak's Peak Master, Gao Wanping, to take the initiative to retreat, but you also emptied the entire Law Enforcement Peak's treasury, right? Seeing that Yu Haoran did not deny his identity, Zhang Ro continued to ask. That's right. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran still did not deny his answer. Then, Yu Shixiang, do you have an 8th level 9th rank Ice Heart pill in your hands? Yu Haoran's 2 consecutive confirmations moved Zhang Ro, but also made her nervous. This was because the 8th level 9th rank Ice Heart pill she had just mentioned was not only related to her future, but also her life. Yes. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran's mind connected directly to his storage ear. Following that, a pill bottle containing 10 8th level 9th rank Ice Heart pills appeared in his hand. The soul hooking technique is particular about progressing step by step. You must not be too hasty. Otherwise, your inner demons will devour you and you will be in so much pain that you will wish you were dead. I hope these 10 Ice Heart pills can let you return to the right path. Yu Haoran reminded Zhang Ro as he threw the pill bottle containing the Ice Heart pills in his hand to her. Stupefied, Zhang Ro took the pill bottle and looked at Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun, who left directly. Her face revealed an expression of disbelief. The soul hooking technique was a secret technique that she had accidentally obtained from a corner of the family's treasury before she joined the Heart Moon sect. It could arouse the most primitive desire in a man's heart. Relying on the secret technique of the soul hooking technique, not only did she make a name for herself in the family as a collateral disciple, she was also like a fish in water in the Heart Moon sect. Originally, she thought that she was the only one within a few thousand miles of the 100 Qi Gate who knew the soul hooking technique. However, she never expected that not only did Yu Haoran know the soul hooking technique, but his understanding of the soul hooking technique far exceeded hers. Chapter 204. In the Blue Moon's Secret Realm. As her cultivation had broken through to the martial warrior realm, Zhang Ro realized that she had gradually lost control of the soul hooking technique. As she gradually lost control of the soul hooking technique, not only did it make it difficult for her to control the desires in her heart, but every time a desire arose, if it wasn't satisfied, the process of the desire's impact was simply too painful. Now, there was actually someone who knew and understood the soul hooking technique. How could she not feel excited? This meant that she could regain control of the soul hooking technique. However, when she thought of the scene that had just happened and the charm that she was constantly emitting, she knew that now wasn't the right time. Fortunately, Zhang Ro knew of Yu Haoran's background. Therefore, she planned to wait until the trial in the Blue Moon's secret realm had ended before finding a way to investigate Yu Haoran's personal preferences. Then, she would act according to his preferences. By relying on her own methods, not only would she be able to obtain guidance on the soul hooking technique, it would also be very likely for the relationship between the two of them to take another step forward. Thinking of this, Zhang Ro gripped the pill bottle in her hand tightly. She turned her head to look at the 3 senior brothers who had been killed and couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of saliva. Then, she swayed her hips and left the scene. In the northeast of the depths of the Blue Moon's secret realm, there was a mountain peak that was about 1,000 meters tall. At the top of the mountain peak, there were over 30 young cultivators who had restrained their auras and were dressed in the uniform of the 100 Qi Gate. Their eyes were constantly flashing with light. In front of the 30 young cultivators, there were nearly 100 ninth-level beasts at the peak of the 9th level. They were either crawling, standing, half-squatting, or flapping their wings in the air. In the middle of the young cultivators of the 100 Qi Gate and the 100 beasts, there was a spirit tree that was about 2 meters tall and completely transparent. It was rooted on a piece of pure white jade. If one didn't observe carefully, they might not be able to discover this spirit tree that was close to being completely transparent. Senior brother Jiang, the situation doesn't look too good. Among the 30 young cultivators of the 100 Qi Gate, a skinny young cultivator who looked like a stick spoke to a young man with a dignified appearance and an extraordinary temperament who was standing at the front of the group. That's right. It seems that the situation has exceeded Vice Head's expectations. I didn't think that the empty solitary fruit would attract so many strange beasts. The young cultivator called Senior Brother Jiang said with a grave expression as he nodded his head. Senior Brother Jiang, what should we do? Seeing that Senior Brother Jiang, who was the strongest, was not very confident, the cultivator who was as thin as a stick asked anxiously with a slightly anxious expression. What else can we do? We can only fight. Senior Brother Jiang said helplessly as he turned to look at Junior Brother Ma Gang. After all, this empty silence fruit will determine whether or not our vice sect leader can break through to the martial sage realm and truly unify the 100 Qi Gate. Therefore, even if only one of us is left, we must bring the empty fruit out of the Blue Moon's secret realm and personally hand it to the deputy sect leader. Alas! Hearing Senior Apprentice Brother Jiang mention Deputy Sect Master Zhong Fakan, the bone pole martial artist could only sigh and then did not speak. 20 meters behind the 30 young disciples of the 100 Qi Gate, behind a milky white boulder, Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun were quietly observing the situation at the peak. After seeing nearly 100 strange beasts emitting auras that surpassed the 9th rank of the 9th rank, Yu Haoran's expression was as grave as Senior Brother Zhang's. Yu Shixiang, when are we going to make our move? Different from Yu Haoran, Wu Jingjun was affected by the bloodthirsty physique. Unless he encountered an opponent with abnormal speed, the larger the scope of the battle, the more excited he was. There's no hurry. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran motioned for Wu Jingjun to be quiet. Then, he continued to stare at the crowd and strange beasts at the peak. If it was purely a competition of strength, none of the strange beasts and fellow disciples at the peak would be a match for him. Even if his fellow disciples and strange beasts joined forces to attack him, he would not be the slightest bit afraid. However, his target this time was the only empty fruit on the transparent spirit tree's leaf between the strange beast and his fellow disciples. If he wanted to obtain the void fruit, he would have to stop his fellow disciples and strange beasts from approaching the void spirit tree. Yu Haoran was confident that he could kill the strange beasts on land at the periphery of the Void Spirit Tree with his speed at the peak of the Greater Mastery Realm. However, he had no way to deal with the 5 flying strange beasts. Therefore, he could only wait for the time being and see if the young experts under the Deputy Sect Master had the means to stop the flying strange beasts. If they did, then he would wait for the outcome of the battle to be decided before reaping the benefits. If they did not, then he would have to make his move in advance. Although the consequence of making his move in advance was that he would have to face the attacks of the strange beasts and fellow disciples at the same time, it was all worth it for the sake of the Void Fruit and for the sake of comprehending the law of space in the future. As the Void Spirit Tree devoured more and more spirit energy at a faster and faster speed, the color of the Void Fruit on its branches became more and more transparent. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became tense. The martial artist surnamed Jiang from the Deputy Sect Master's faction raised his left hand, ready to issue an order at any time. On the other hand, the strange beasts. Although there was no leader, all the strange beasts that were crawling or squatting all stood up and stared at the human martial artists in front of them. The 5 flying strange beasts in the air flapped their wings at a faster rate. Xingjun, get ready to attack at any time. When the Void Spirit Tree devoured a large amount of spirit energy for the last time, Yu Haoran urged Wu Xingjun while mobilizing the Yuan Qi in his dantian. Team 3 will be in charge of stopping the 5 flying strange beasts. Team 1 and Rank 2 will be in charge of the remaining strange beasts. Junior brother Zhao Yunan and I will be in charge of seizing the Void Fruit. The martial artist surnamed Jiang commanded loudly just as the Void Spirit Tree was devouring a large amount of spirit energy for the last time. After a mere 5 seconds, the Void Fruit emitted a strong aura of emptiness. The martial artist surnamed Jiang waved his hand and shouted, "Attack!" Soon after, more than 30 young experts who had reached the peak of 9th grade martial warrior and had reached the martial master realm rushed towards the strange beasts in an orderly manner. Some used the illusory Yuan Qi to stop the 5 flying strange beasts that were flying at high speed. As for the martial artist surnamed Jiang and Zhao Yunan, they quickly approached the Void Spirit Tree. "Yu Shixiang, are you still not going to make a move?" Seeing that the 3 teams had successfully stopped the approaching strange beasts, and that the martial artists surnamed Jiang and Zhao Yunan were about to reach the Void Spirit Tree, Wu Xingjun urged anxiously. If it weren't for the fact that his footwork martial technique was only at the initial stage, and he couldn't catch up to the martial artists surnamed Jiang and Zhao Yunan, Wu Xingjun would have at most discussed it with Yu Haoran before making a move. "Don't worry, a good show is about to begin." Yu Haoran, who had mobilized all his Yuan Qi and was ready to fight for the Void Fruit, not only signaled Wu Xingjun not to worry, but he also dispersed the Yuan Qi he had mobilized earlier. Then, with a relaxed expression, he watched the 2 sides fighting each other on the peak. Chapter 205. In the Blue Moon's Secret Realm, at the peak of a mountain. Just as the strongest and fastest cultivator surnamed Jiang was about to reach the tranquil Void Spirit Tree, a rat beast with a color similar to the tranquil Void Fruit and a body several times larger than an ordinary rat suddenly appeared in front of Jiang. The sharp rat fangs directly bit through Jiang's shoulder. "Ah!" Jiang couldn't help but howl in pain when his shoulder was suddenly bitten through. Following that, his uninjured right hand grabbed at the rat beast that was biting his shoulder. However, when his hand grabbed the rat beast, he realized that the rat beast didn't have a physical body. His right hand that grabbed nothing hit his left shoulder heavily, causing another wave of intense pain to come from his injured shoulder. "Ah!" Just as Jiang was wondering how the rat beast that bit his shoulder could become illusory, Zhao Yunan, who had also reached the Void Spirit Tree, couldn't help but howl. Jiang quickly looked up and was surprised to see that Zhao Yunan's left shoulder had also been bitten through by a transparent rat beast. Furthermore, Zhao Yunnan was planning to use his right hand to grab the rat beast, but the rat beast on his left shoulder also became illusory. However, after careful observation, Jiang finally realized that the rat beast that attacked him and Zhao Yunnan were the same mutated beast. This also meant that the rat beast's body wasn't illusory, but possessed a speed that was hard to detect with the naked eye. What he and Zhao Yunnan caught was only an afterimage left on their shoulders. He thought about how he was attacked first because he was the fastest and was the first to reach the Void Spirit Tree. Therefore, he hurriedly shouted at Zhao Yunnan, "Junior brother Zhao, quickly retreat." At the same time, he quickly retreated a few meters to maintain a distance from the Void Spirit Tree. When he and Zhao Yunnan retreated to a distance of 6 meters from the Void Spirit Tree, the transparent rat beast returned to the Void Spirit Tree and didn't continue to attack them. "Yu Shixiang, what kind of mutated beast is that?" Wu Jingjun couldn't help but ask fearfully as he couldn't see the rat beast's speed and direction. After all, his only shortcoming now was his speed. Therefore, when facing opponents or mutated beasts that were known for their speed, he lacked confidence. "That's a Void Spirit Mouse, the one and only spiritual beast in the profound sky continent," Yu Haoran said with a smile as he looked at the rat beast that had easily repelled Elder Jiang and Zhao Yunnan without taking their lives. "Yu Shixiang, what is a spirit beast?" After hearing Yu Haoran's answer, not only did Wu Jingjun not clear up his doubts, but he also became even more puzzled. Spirit beasts are a type of living creature that's different from strange beasts. They aren't born through the mating of males and females. Instead, they're a type of unique living creature nurtured by the heavens and earth. They're also unique existences. This rat-like rat beast in front of us is the Void Spirit Rat that is said to be able to find all the rare treasures and exotic flowers in the world. Spirit beasts born from the heavens and earth have the ability to search for all the rare treasures and rare plants in the world. Although Yu Haoran's explanation solved the doubts in Wu Jingjuan's heart, it also made him extremely shocked. Because he didn't think that the profound sky continent would actually have such a living creature. "Yu Shixiang, if you can subdue this Void Spirit Rat and sign a pet beast contract with it, then wouldn't our Clear Cloud Peak be able to have whatever we want in the future and advance to whatever realm we want?" Forcefully swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Wu Jingjun asked in a trembling voice. "Spirit beasts are born from the heavens and earth. From the moment they're born, they're protected by the laws of the heavens and earth. Jingjun, not to mention me, even if Emperor Wu was a peak expert, he wouldn't be able to sign a pet beast contract with the Void Spirit Rat." Shaking his head, Yu Haoran explained why he couldn't subdue the Void Spirit Rat. Of course, not being able to sign a pet beast contract with the Void Spirit Rat was only one of the reasons why he couldn't subdue it. The reason why he didn't want to use force to subdue it was because he had an extraordinary relationship with the Void Spirit Rat in his previous life. If there was anyone in the profound sky continent who was most familiar with the Void Spirit Rat, Yu Haoran wouldn't dare to claim to be first if he claimed to be second. In his previous life, the reason why he was able to enter so many ruins that even peak martial saints and martial honorables couldn't find was not because of his heaven-defying luck, nor was it because he dared to risk his life. It was because of the help of the Void Spirit Rat in front of him. Without the help of this Void Spirit Rat, he wouldn't have been able to become a famous pill emperor in the profound sky continent. In fact, the way he met the Void Spirit Rat was a little strange. It was when his cultivation had just broken through to the martial ancestor realm and he was preparing to refine a kind of elixir that could improve his spirit. Due to the lack of spirit and yuan qi, as well as the lack of alchemy skills, it led to the failure of the last step of the alchemy process. In the end, he could only refine a pile of useless elixirs. Useless elixirs were elixirs whose internal energy was in a mess. They couldn't be consumed, and still had a certain degree of threat. Therefore, ordinary useless elixirs were either directly shattered with yuan qi or buried on the spot. At that time, the waste of a large amount of precious elixirs he had collected and the frustration after failing to refine elixirs caused him to be in a very bad mood. Therefore, he didn't want to waste his yuan qi to shatter the useless elixirs, nor did he want to bury them on the spot. In the end, he just ignored them. Later, when he had calmed down and was about to dispose of the useless elixirs, he unexpectedly saw the void spirit rat swallowing the useless elixirs. At that time, due to his experience and knowledge, he didn't know that the rat beast swallowing the useless elixirs was the famous void spirit rat. He only thought of it as an ordinary rat beast. After wandering alone for so many years, the sadness of losing his master and senior brother made him feel very lonely. The sudden appearance of an extremely intelligent rat beast gave him a warm feeling. Therefore, not only did he not chase the void spirit rat away, he continued to refine elixirs and fed all the useless elixirs he failed to refine to the void spirit rat. However, the many failures in refining elixirs also caused him to use up all the elixirs he had prepared in advance. Helpless, he could only stop refining elixirs and look for elixirs. However, after many days of contact, he had developed a strong relationship with the void spirit rat. Therefore, before leaving, he told the void spirit rat what he needed to do in full detail. However, what he didn't expect was that after hearing that he couldn't refine elixirs for the time being because he didn't have enough elixirs, the void spirit rat signaled him to stay for the time being. In just half an hour, it reappeared in front of him with more than a dozen precious elixirs. It was also from then on that he discovered that the void spirit rat had the ability to find exotic flowers and herbs. It was also from then on that he began to pay attention to and investigate the origin of the void spirit rat. Yu Shixiang, not good, the void fruit is going to be taken away by the void spirit rat. Just as Yu Haoran was immersed in the memories of meeting and accompanying the void spirit rat in his previous life, Wu Jingjuan's anxious voice suddenly interrupted his memories. Chapter 206 Blue Moon's Secret Realm, on top of a mountain peak. Jingjun, don't worry. That empty still fruit is definitely mine, Yu Haoran said confidently, indicating to Wu Jingjun that there was no need to worry. Then, he took out 10 ninth-level first-grade Qi training pills from his storage ear and used his Yuan Li to disrupt the energy sequence within the pills. Yu Shixiang, what are you doing? Using Yuan Li to disrupt the energy sequence within the pills would not only cause the pills to lose the effect of increasing cultivation, but also cause the pills to explode after consumption due to the chaotic energy sequence. You'll know in a moment. Without further explanation, Yu Haoran took out 10 ninth-level 3rd grade, 9 ninth-level 6th grade, and 9 ninth-level 9th grade Qi training pills from his storage ear and used the same method to turn all the Qi training pills into useless pills. After all 40 Qi training pills of different grades had been turned into useless pills by Yu Haoran, the empty spirit mouse sitting on top of the empty spirit tree not only plucked the empty still fruit, but also swallowed it. No! Seeing the empty spirit mouse swallow the empty still fruit, the cultivator surnamed Jiang couldn't help but roar. Then, ignoring the injury on his shoulder, he rushed towards the empty spirit mouse. After losing the empty still fruit, he couldn't complete the task given by the vice head. Therefore, the young experts in charge of blocking the attacks of the exotic beasts all turned around and rushed towards the empty spirit mouse on top of the spirit tree like the cultivator surnamed Jiang. However, the exotic beasts that originally wanted to fight for the empty still fruit could only howl unwillingly after seeing the empty still fruit being swallowed by the mouse beast. Then, they turned around and rushed down the mountain peak. The cultivator surnamed Jiang, who had unleashed all his strength, was almost at the early 3rd grade martial master. Therefore, in the blink of an eye, he rushed to the empty still spirit tree. However, just as he was about to use his Yuan Li to form a giant palm to catch the empty spirit mouse, he realized that the empty spirit mouse had long disappeared from the top of the spirit tree. Thinking of the empty spirit mouse's elusive speed, as long as he lost sight of it, it would be more difficult than ascending to the heavens to find it again. In the end, he gave up on the idea of using his Yuan Li to form a giant palm. But when he thought of the vice sect master's instructions and saw that the team hadn't lost a single person, Jiang Chun reluctantly ordered his fellow junior brothers. "Search with all your might. You must find that rat beast." Although the order he had issued was very strict, and it seemed as if he had to find this mouse beast no matter what, this cultivator surnamed Jiang didn't have much hope. Not only was that rat beast extremely fast, but it was also adept at hiding. Finding it would be even more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Therefore, while he allowed his junior brothers to search for the rat beast, he took out a medicinal pill and focused on healing his shoulder that had been bitten by the rat beast earlier. "Yu Shixiang, do you think we should leave now?" Wu Jingjun suggested when he saw the group expanding their search for the empty spirit mouse. "Let's retreat for a while. After those people leave, we'll come back." It was easy to lure out the void spirit mouse, and it wasn't difficult to lure the void fruit out of its stomach. Without any conflict of interest, he didn't want to have a conflict with the disciples of Vice Sect Master Zhong Faken's faction. Therefore, in the face of Wu Jingjuan's suggestion, Yu Haoran readily agreed. After searching for almost an hour, the group hadn't found any traces of the void spirit mouse. At the same time, the cultivator surnamed Zhang's shoulder that had been bitten by the void spirit mouse had basically returned to normal through the treatment of top-notch medicinal pills. Looking at his dejected junior brothers, the cultivator surnamed Jiang knew that their failure in the fight for the void fruit had been a huge blow to them. Because they hadn't completed the task assigned by the Vice Sect Master, not only had they not received the rewards that the Vice Sect Master had promised them, their status in the Vice Sect Master's faction would also be greatly affected in the future. However, according to the cultivator surnamed Zhang's private knowledge, in the Blue Moon secret realm, other than the void fruit that could assist the Vice Sect Master in breaking through to the Martial Saint rank, there was another spirit medicine that had the same effect. Its effect was even far stronger than the void fruit. However, the spirit medicine's habitat was too dangerous. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he didn't want to take the risk and fight for it. However, the cruel reality now forced him to take the risk. "Junior brothers, don't be discouraged. We still have hope." The cultivator surnamed Jiang encouraged his senior brothers in a loud voice as he looked at their dejected expressions. The void fruit was only one of the plans that our Vice Sect Master had prepared. In fact, his real goal was the three-colored red lotus in a natural lake more than 1,000 kilometers away from here. The three-colored red lotus is a kind of top-notch spirit medicine that is even more precious and of higher quality than the void fruit. It is even more helpful for the Vice Sect Master to break through to the Martial Saint rank. However, the danger of fighting for the three-colored red lotus far surpasses that of fighting for the void fruit. Now that the void spirit fruit has been lost, we must help the Vice Sect Master take back the three-colored red lotus, even if we have to risk our lives. "Yes, senior brother. Yes, senior brother." Hearing the cultivator surnamed Jiang mention that there was another three-colored red lotus whose effect wasn't inferior to the void fruit, everyone's originally dejected mood was instantly swept away. When they thought about how the void fruit had been forcibly snatched away by an unknown mouse beast right under their noses, while they felt dejected, they also suppressed a flame of anger in their hearts. Now that they had the chance to vent their anger, how could their emotions not soar? As he watched the Vice Sect Master's disciples quickly leave the mountain peak, Yu Haoran couldn't help but shake his head. The Vice Sect Master Zhong Faken gave off a similar feeling to his master. He was the kind of person who stood aloof from worldly affairs and was indifferent to fame and fortune. However, based on the way he had arranged for his disciples to fight for the void fruit, It was clear that he was not willing to be suppressed by others. This unwillingness had been hidden very well so that no one had noticed. Yuhaoran believed that if Zhong Fakin were to obtain the void fruit and use the pills refined from the void fruit to break through to the martial saint rank, then, the dissatisfaction and depression that had accumulated over the years would definitely cause him to explode in a frenzied manner to vent his accumulated dissatisfaction and depression. This wasn't a good thing for the 100 Qi Gate and Clear Cloud Peak. It was a good thing that Vice Sect Master Zhong Fakin had not broken through to the martial saint rank even after the 100 Qi Gate had been annihilated in his past life. This also meant that he had not obtained the opportunity to break through to the martial saint rank during this trial in the Blue Moon Secret Realm. Taking a deep breath, Yuhaoran threw all thoughts about Zhong Fakin to the back of his mind. Then, he unleashed his movement technique and returned to the mountain peak. Not in a hurry to find the Void Spirit Mouse, Yuhaoran first closed his eyes and carefully experienced it. Then, he shook his head. The explosion of the demon god's ancient tomb had not only caused him to lose all of his cultivation and spirit, it had also caused him to lose the intimate connection he had formed with the Void Spirit Mouse in his past life. Yuhaoran knew that it would take a very long time to re-establish this connection. Yu Shixiang, where's the Void Spirit Mouse? Although Yuhaoran had never mentioned the reason for his return to the mountain peak, Wu Jingjun could guess his intentions from his series of actions and reactions. Chapter 207. At the peak of the mountain in the Blue Moon's secret realm. Don't worry, you'll see it in a while. Maintaining his mysterious smile, Yuhaoran walked to a white rock about 5 meters away from the Void Spirit Tree. He took out the level 9 Qi refining pill that had been turned into a waste pill from his storage ear and placed it on the white rock. Then, he took a few steps back and carefully stared at the waste pill on the white rock. Where's that waste pill? It didn't take long, less than 3 seconds. Wu Jingjun was surprised to find that the waste pill that was originally placed on the white rock had suddenly disappeared. As for how it disappeared, he couldn't find any clues at all. Yuhaoran wasn't surprised at all. Then, he took out 2 level 9 Qi refining pills and placed them on the white rock again. At the same time, in the same way, the 2 waste pills mysteriously disappeared for the second time under Wu Jingjuan's incredulous gaze. 3 level 9 Qi refining pills were still placed on the white rock. 6 level 9 Qi refining pills were still placed on the white rock. When there was only 1 level 9 Qi refining pill left, Yuhaoran didn't continue to place the pills. Instead, he waited for 5 minutes. Then, he took out the remaining first-rank 9th level pill and a third-rank 9th level pill and continued to place the pills on the ground. 3 level 9 Qi refining pills were still placed on the white rock. 6 level 9 Qi refining pills were still placed on the white rock. When the waste pills placed on the white rock reached level 9 Qi refining pills, Yuhaoran didn't continue to place the pills. Instead, he signaled Wu Jingjun to leave the mountain peak with him. Although he was full of questions, Wu Jingjun knew that now wasn't the best time to ask questions. Therefore, he followed Yuhaoran without saying a word and left the mountain peak step by step. Squeak, squeak, squeak. As he turned to leave, Yuhaoran silently counted the number in his heart. When the number reached 7, he suddenly heard the squeaking of a mouse behind him. Turning around, Yuhaoran took out a 9th rank pill from his storage ear and smiled at the empty white rock. Do you want this pill? Squeak, squeak. The empty white rock suddenly let out a squeak of desire. Here you go. Without mentioning the void spirit fruit, Yuhaoran threw the waste pill to the white rock. Immediately after, Wu Jingzhong saw a white light flash past like lightning, and the waste pill that Yuhaoran had just thrown out suddenly disappeared. Then, Yuhaoran took out 3 9th rank pills from his storage ear. However, he put them back into his storage ear and said, I don't have any pills. Sorry, I don't have that kind of pill on me anymore. Squeak, squeak. Yu Haoran deliberately took out the waste pills very slowly just now, which was clearly seen by the void spirit mouse hiding on the white rock. Therefore, in the face of Yu Haoran's lies, it was obviously very dissatisfied and complained. Friend, those pills are still useful to me, so I can't give them to you for the time being. Besides, you know that to refine that kind of pill, you need some special spiritual herbs. I don't have too many spiritual herbs on me now, so I can't continue to refine that kind of pill. In the face of the void spirit mouse's dissatisfaction, Yu Haoran spread out his hands and explained his current situation. Then, the void spirit mouse on the white rock fell into silence. The silence didn't last long, only 5 or 6 minutes. On the originally empty white rock, 3 spiritual herbs suddenly appeared, including the void spirit fruit that the void spirit mouse had just swallowed. Well, the quality of these spiritual herbs is not bad. They can be used to refine some good pills. Yu Haoran walked to the white rock and carefully observed the other 2 spiritual herbs besides the empty fruit. He found that one of the spiritual herbs was a 7th-rank first-grade herb that could be used to refine elixirs that could improve the physical body. It was the mixed yuan grass. The other one was a ginseng that was close to 10,000 years old and could be directly refined and consumed, reaching the 9th rank of the 7th rank. Yu Haoran was very satisfied with the 2 spiritual herbs given by the void spirit mouse. Therefore, while praising, he took out the remaining 9 9th rank pills from his storage ear and placed them all on the white rock. Friend, this is all my stock, and now I'm giving it to you. After the 9 pills on the white rock disappeared, Yu Haoran stood in place and waited for a while. He found that the void spirit mouse didn't continue to ask for more pills, nor did it have the intention to give him more spiritual herbs. He knew that the void spirit mouse's current level and strength were still very low. The 40 pills it had just swallowed were enough for it to refine for a long time. Therefore, Yu Haoran waved his hand at the white rock and said, "Friend, as long as I have time, I will refine more of those pills just now. Friend, if you still want more, with your ability, you should be able to find me easily. Now I have something to deal with, so I'll take my leave first." Shaking his head at Wu Jingjun, Yu Haoran turned around and stepped away from the peak. "Yu Shixiang, since you've already used the waste pills to establish a good relationship with the void spirit mouse, why don't you find a way to get it to follow you, and then use its ability to search for all the precious spiritual herbs in the secret realm?" When they were halfway up the mountain and far away from the white rock where the void spirit mouse was hiding, Wu Jingjun couldn't help but remind him when he saw that Yu Haoran's footsteps still didn't have the slightest intention of stopping. Jingjun, as a spiritual beast born from nature, the void spirit mouse has very high intelligence. Stopping, Yu Haoran turned his head to look at the peak and explained, "Although it's still in its infancy, and its intelligence is not fully mature, and its behavior is a bit childish, it's impossible to gain its favor with just 40 pills, let alone make it follow you. Therefore, if you really want to gain the void spirit mouse's favor, if you really want it to sincerely help you, you need to have the means, you need to treat each other sincerely, and you need to wait patiently for a long time." Humbly accepting Yu Haoran's criticism, Wu Jingjun continued to flatter him sincerely. "Yu Shixiang, I suddenly realize that you are an omniscient and omnipotent God. It's as if there's nothing in the Tianxian continent that you don't know, and there's no treasure that you don't recognize." Glaring at Wu Jingjun, Yu Haoran quickened his pace and left the peak. See more, read more, ask more, think more, and sooner or later you'll be like me, omniscient and omnipotent. Chapter 208 Blue Moon's Secret Realm. 10 miles away from the valley where the 3 scarlet fruits had appeared, a group of 10 people were rushing towards the valley. Among the 10 people, there were 7 men and 3 women. The sleeves of the 7 men and 3 women's clothes were embroidered with the symbol of a palace. If someone who was familiar with and understood the 100 Qi Gate saw the symbol of the palace, they would know that these 10 people were disciples of the Achievement Palace Hall of the 100 Chi Gate. If Yu Haoran saw the ordinary-looking girl among the 7 men and 3 women, he would definitely personally bring her to train and use his greatest efforts to help her raise her cultivation and strength. He would sincerely help her solve all her problems. Because this girl was one of the reasons why he had contradicted Jia Tongxi and flipped the Achievement Palace Hall. Junior sister Jingya, where did you hear about the news of the scarlet fruits in the valley ahead? Among the 3 girls, a girl with an outstanding appearance and a hot figure asked the girl who had helped Yu Haoran in his previous life. Replying to senior sister, it was Senior Gong who told me. The girl who was called Jingya obediently replied. Could it be senior brother Gong Chunxian? The hot figure girl's eyes suddenly widened as she asked. That's right, it's senior brother Gong Chunxian. Jingya nodded and confirmed. Junior sister Jingya, when did you get together with senior brother Gong? The hot figure girl looked at Jingya with envy and jealousy as she said sourly. The other girl looked at Jingya with eyes that also revealed a trace of envy and jealousy. Actually, the hot figure girl couldn't be blamed for being envious and jealous, because Gong Chunxian was not only handsome and had outstanding strength. His position in the Achievement Palace Hall was also very good. He was a core disciple who was second only to the palace master Jia Tongxi and was on equal footing with the other 2 vice palace masters. He was the ideal Prince Charming in the hearts of many female disciples in the 100 Chi Gate. However, Gong Qinshuan's temperament was too arrogant and ordinary girls couldn't enter his eyes. That was why she was jealous of the ordinary-looking Jingya. Senior sister Qin, I'm not familiar with senior brother Gong, please don't say that. Hearing the hot figure girl misunderstand her relationship with Gong Chunxian, Jingya quickly refuted. Alright, apart from me and junior apprentice sister Enran, I definitely won't tell anyone else. Glancing at the 7 senior brothers who were walking in front of them and some distance away from them, the hot woman patted her huge chest and promised. However, whether it was Jingya, senior sister Chun, or the girl called Enran, none of them noticed that among the 7 senior brothers in front of them, the senior brother with the highest cultivation had been eavesdropping on their conversation the entire time. When he heard that junior sister Chun had forcefully made the relationship between Jingya and Gong Chunxian very ambiguous, he couldn't help but frown, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. For the 10 disciples who had reached the martial warrior realm, a distance of 5 kilometers was not a long distance. Therefore, it did not take long for them to arrive at the entrance of the valley. However, when they saw the corpses of the exotic beasts at the entrance of the valley, their faces instantly changed. Immediately after, the one with the highest cultivation among the 10, who was at the peak of 9th grade martial warrior, was the male senior who had been eavesdropping on Jingya's conversation. After a mere 10 seconds, he came out again and shook his head, indicating that they didn't need to go in. There's no need to go in, the vermilion fruit in the valley has already been taken away by someone. Junior apprentice sister Jingya, who else have you revealed the news of the vermilion fruit that is about to ripen in this valley? The senior brother who had just entered the valley asked with a relatively gentle attitude. Shaking her head, Jingya said with certainty, No, other than senior sister Chun and senior apprentice sister Enran, I haven't told anyone. Hearing that Jingya did not reveal the secret to the person who should have, the senior brother who had just entered the valley had a trace of disappointment in his eyes. However, thinking that the person behind them had already arranged many methods, the disciple withdrew his disappointed expression and said with a smile, Since the vermilion fruit has already been taken away, it means that the vermilion fruit is not fated with us. Let's hurry to another place and fight for 5 stalks of top-notch spirit herbs that are not inferior to the vermilion fruit. We'll listen to senior brother's arrangements. The other 9 people agreed without any objections. After everyone left the valley, the disciple who had just entered the valley deliberately slowed down. After Jingya caught up, he softly asked, Junior apprentice Sister Jingya, have you seen Yu Haoran or Yu Shixiang during this time? Senior brother Run, I don't know Yu Shixiang. How could I have seen him? Jingya shook her head and asked in puzzlement. It's nothing, I was just casually asking. The senior brother surnamed Run chuckled and sped up to catch up with the other disciples in front of him. However, the smile on his face gradually disappeared and was replaced by doubt and confusion. Yu Shixiang, are you sure this thing is useful to me? Wu Jingjun asked with an ugly expression as he pointed at the black, mud-like quagmire in front of him that emitted a pungent smell. Jingjun, don't be fooled by the appearance of this quagmire. It is one of the few treasures in the Blue Moon's secret realm that can continue to increase our strength. Yu Haoran asked with a calm expression as he flicked off a drop of black mud on his finger. In fact, Yu Haoran did not know the use of the quagmire in front of him. It was just that when he and Wu Jingjun passed by this place, they had just finished the first stage of refining. They planned to take a breather first and unexpectedly discovered the extraordinariness of this quagmire. At the same time, he had just taken out a drop of mud and sent it into the victor. After carefully examining it with his divine sense, he told him the true origin of this quagmire and its effects. Yu Shixiang, since it can increase our strength, then can you tell me the true origin of this quagmire and its effects on us? Being able to increase one's strength was originally a good thing. However, cultivating in the mud that emitted a pungent smell was probably an extremely painful thing. Therefore, Wu Jingjun wanted to know the origin of this quagmire and its effects on him so that he could give himself a reason to accept it with peace of mind. Jingjun, I think it's best if you don't know the origin of this quagmire. Yu Haoran turned his head to look at Wu Jingjun and replied hesitantly. Yu Shixiang, you'd better say it. Otherwise, I won't feel confident. Shaking his head, Wu Jingjun still insisted on his attitude. In the Blue Moon secret realm, there is a special group of mutated beasts. They are gentle, small in size, and like to live in group. And this quagmire is the excrement of these mutated beasts. Yu Haoran explained while holding back his smile. What? It's the excrement of mutated beasts? I'm not going in. Hearing that the quagmire in front of them was actually the excrement of a group of mutated beasts, Wu Jingjun immediately shook his head and refused. Jingjun, you have to think carefully. Chapter 209. In the Blue Moon's secret realm, in front of the quagmire. To be honest, after the explosion of the demon god's tomb had caused him to be reborn, although he had lost his martial king cultivation and soul, he had not lost his peak martial king state of mind. Instead, it had increased. In addition to the state of mind cultivation and experience, Yu Haoran believed that it was also related to the incredible training he had experienced in his previous life. Yu Shixiang, go ahead. Shaking his head, Wu Jingjun came to a gray rock 3 meters away from the quagmire. He then squatted on the rock, showing that he would never use feces to increase his strength. That special strange beast is called the flying squirrel. It is a strange beast that lives by eating spirit stones and strange flowers and plants. The feces they excrete is called the 5 spirit fat, which means the chi of the 5 spirit. The chi of the 5 spirits is a type of energy that is purer than the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. Not only can it purify the origin energy in the dantian, it can also remove the impurities in the body, making the body closer to a perfect state. As he stepped into the quagmire, Yu Haoran explained the various effects of the quagmire in a soft voice. More importantly, due to the principle of mutual promotion and suppression of the 5 elements, the energy of the 5 spirit fat can not only consolidate one's cultivation, but also greatly increase one's talent and potential. Seeing that Wu Jingjun was only slightly moved but still unable to break through the psychological barrier of using the strange beast's feces to increase his strength, Yu Haoran continued to explain the effects of the quagmire and continued to increase the temptation. It can greatly increase one's talent and potential. After hearing Yu Haoran mention the second effect of the quagmire, Wu Jingjun immediately stood up. However, he did not step forward and only asked suspiciously. However, in the face of Wu Jingjun's doubts, Yu Haoran did not give any reply. Instead, he continued to talk about the third effect of the quagmire. The flying squirrel, also known as the spirit-swallowing beast, has a physique very similar to the bloodthirsty physique. Therefore, the feces they excrete contains the 5 elements spiritual qi. Not only can it further activate the bloodthirsty physique, it can also increase the grade of the bloodthirsty physique. At this point, Yu Haoran looked up at Wu Jingjun and said in a casual tone, "These are the 3 heaven-defying effects of the quagmire. As for whether you can use the excrement of exotic beasts to increase your strength, that's up to you." After saying this, Yu Haoran sank into the quagmire, leaving only his head above the surface. "Isn't it just the excrement of exotic beasts? It's not like I'm eating it." Looking at Yu Haoran, who was immersed in the quagmire without even frowning, Wu Jingjun gritted his teeth and muttered a few words, then stepped into the quagmire as well. However, just as he entered the quagmire, he immediately felt his dormant bloodthirsty physique being automatically activated. He couldn't help but feel ecstatic. Then, just like Yu Haoran, his head was left outside the quagmire, and his whole body was submerged in the quagmire. As time passed, the 5 elemental spiritual qi contained in the excrement of the exotic beasts in the quagmire became less and less. The pungent smell also became stronger and stronger, and could almost affect an area of more than 30 meters. At this moment, a group of men and women, about 40 people, suddenly appeared at the periphery of the quagmire. "It stinks." One of the girls couldn't help but pinch her nose and complain after smelling the odor coming from the quagmire. "Let's go quickly." In the group, a beauty with a temperament as cold as ice, whose appearance was slightly inferior to Lin Mengyao, urged with a frown, "Senior Sister Chen, look. There's someone in the quagmire." Just as the group was about to go around the quagmire, the girl who was pinching her nose and complaining suddenly shouted in surprise. Hearing the girl's surprised shout, the group turned their heads to look. After confirming that there were indeed 2 people in the quagmire, the group immediately burst into an incomparably lively discussion. "What do you guys think? Are these 2 people sick? They're actually bathing in the quagmire." A girl with a relatively good appearance ridiculed with a disgusted expression. "Looking at their current posture, they should be cultivating. However, I don't know what kind of mental cultivation method or martial skill would require them to cultivate in such a stinky quagmire." A youth who looked to be 16 or 17 and was already at the peak of 7th grade martial warrior said with a frown, "TCH, according to my judgment, they're either hiding from their enemies or from exotic beasts. After all, even exotic beasts wouldn't be able to tolerate this stench." The girl who was pinching her nose pretended to be smart and guessed, "Stop talking. Who they are and what they're doing has nothing to do with us. Hurry up and leave this place." The girl with a temperament as cold as ice ordered with a cold expression, "Yes, Senior Sister Chen." Hearing the trace of dissatisfaction in the girl's voice, the men and women at the scene all shut their mouths and quickened their steps to leave. However, at this moment, a sharp-eyed male disciple just happened to see Yu Haoran's face and immediately cried out in alarm, "Senior Sister Chen, I know who the 2 people in the quagmire are. I already said that who they are and what they're doing has nothing to do with us." The girl with a temperament as cold as ice turned her head and reprimanded with an even colder tone, "No, Senior Sister, don't misunderstand." Seeing the girl with a temperament as cold as ice angry, the youth who recognized Yu Haoran immediately waved his hand and hurriedly said, "Senior Sister Chen, the 2 people cultivating in the quagmire are Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun from the 100 Qi Gates Qinyun Peak. After hearing that the two people in the quagmire were actually Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun from the 100 Qi Gates Qingyun Peak, the 40 over men and women who were talking and laughing immediately stopped in their track. Then, they stared closely at the two people in the quagmire with greedy expressions in their eyes. Junior brother Yuan, are you sure that the two people are Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun? The girl with a temperament as cold as ice hurriedly asked. 100% sure. Nodding his head, the disciple with the surname Yuan confirmed with absolute certainty and also stated the reason for his confirmation. This is because after entering the Blue Moon's secret realm, I once saw the portraits of Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun from a disciple of the 100 Qi Gates Law Enforcement Peak. All the male disciples present, listen up. All of you, get close to the quagmire and force Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun out of the quagmire. The girl with a temperament as cold as ice did not investigate why the disciple with the surname Yuan had interacted with the disciples of the 100 Qi Gates Law Enforcement Peak. Instead, she forcefully ordered the 30 over male disciples present. Looking at each other, all the male disciples present could see a trace of helplessness in each other's eyes. However, in the face of the orders of the girl with a temperament as cold as ice, they could not and did not dare to refuse. Therefore, they could only forcefully hold their breaths and increase their speed towards the quagmire. Chunbingjie, if you don't want to die here, hurry up and get out of my way. Just as the 30 over male disciples held their breaths and planned to forcefully charge towards the quagmire, Yu Haoran's voice that was as cold as ice suddenly sounded from the quagmire. You know me. Indicating for the male disciples to temporarily not act, the girl called Chunbingjie asked with a puzzled expression. Chapter 210. In the Blue Moon's secret realm, in front of the quagmire, Chen Bingjie and Chen Ro, whom he had met some time ago, were the ice and fire pearls of the Heart Moon sect. Among them, Fire Pearl Chen Ro was passionate towards every male disciple in the sect because she cultivated the soul hooking technique. She was the most popular female disciple among the male disciples in the Heart Moon sect. Ice Pearl Chen Bingjie was also a cold person because she cultivated the ice attribute technique. She treated every male disciple with a cold face. She was the female disciple that all the male disciples in the Heart Moon sect yearned for, but it was difficult to get close to. However, Yu Haoran knew that this was only on the surface. Chen Ro, who looked passionate and seemed to have feelings for every male disciple, was actually a good girl who scrupulously abided by her duties, knew the severity of the matter, and kept herself clean. It was only because of the soul hooking technique that she looked more dissolute. This was also the main reason why Yu Haoran was willing to let go of her trap and took the initiative to give her the ice heart pill. Chen Bingjie, who seemed to have a cold temperament and did not give a good face to every male disciple, was actually an even more dissolute woman. It was only because of her background that she had high standards. Not to mention the Heart Moon sect, even the most outstanding legacy disciples in the 100 Qi Gate could not enter her eyes. In her eyes, only the core and legacy disciples of the 7 top sects, or the princes of the 3 empires who had the right to inherit, could make her put down her cold temperament and lower her noble head. In his previous life, Yu Haoran had personally witnessed how Chen Bingjie fawned over the 7 princes of the Emperor Qin kingdom. Recalling her fanatical performance at that time, Yu Haoran could not help but want to vomit. Yu Haoran would not have any good impression of this kind of two-faced woman. If it was not because he needed to hurry up and absorb the 5 elements spiritual qi in the quagmire to try to build a perfect physical body, he would definitely have started a massacre just because these people wanted to covet his storage Dharma artifact. Chen Bingjie was slightly disappointed after hearing Yu Haoran's answer. She had only heard of his reputation. Just as Yu Haoran understood, she had extremely high standards. Even a peerless genius with the talent and potential of a peak martial saint could not catch her eye. But Yu Haoran was different. Although Yu Haoran's talent and potential were only at the peak of the martial saint realm, His secret technique to transform into a rank 5 exotic beast gave him an absolute advantage among his peers. Occupying an absolute advantage meant that Yu Haoran could rely on the secret transformation technique to search for and compete for the best spirit herbs, and continue to improve his talent and potential. Having an absolute advantage meant that Yu Haoran could do his best to take care of everyone around him and give everyone a higher starting point. Therefore, in the entire area of the 100 Qi Gate, the only man who could catch Chen Bingjie's eye was Yu Haoran, who came from the clear cloud peak of the 100 Qi Gate. Only Yu Haoran could make her temporarily put down her status and attempt to interact with him as an equal. Of course, this was only an attempt to interact with him. She would definitely hold on to her last line of defense so that in the future, she could climb up to an even more outstanding man of a higher status who was more suitable for her. Unfortunately, Yu Haoran's reaction made her give up on this idea for the time being. She then readjusted her emotions and regained her icy expression as she ordered. Yu Haoran, if you are willing to hand over your storage Dharma artifact, not only will I let you live, I will also guarantee your safety in the Blue Moon's secret realm. You think you can do that? Coldly glancing at Chen Bingjie, Yu Haoran sneered in disdain. Then, he closed his eyes again and sped up his absorption of the 5 elements spiritual qi in the quagmire. It seems that you want to refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Seeing Yu Haoran's disdainful ridicule, Chen Bingjie threatened even more coldly. Do it. Chen Bingjie ordered the disciples who were already prepared. Yu Shixiang, whether it is the bloodthirsty physique or the grade of his physical body, he is already unable to continue absorbing the 5 elements spiritual qi in the quagmire. Why don't you leave these people to me? In fact, Wu Jingjun had already discovered Chen Bingjie's group when they had just arrived at the periphery of the quagmire. But at that time, he was at the critical moment of his breakthrough, so he endured and did not speak. Now that he had successfully broken through at the critical moment, Wu Jingjun, who wanted to verify the results of his strength improvement, hurriedly asked for battle. This was because he knew that these people in front of him were not enough to be slaughtered by Yu Haoran in a few moves. If he asked for battle too late, there would be no opponent to fight even if he wanted to. Hurry up and finish them. It's almost time for me to finish. Glancing at Wu Jingjun, Yu Haoran ordered faintly. Okay. After getting Yu Haoran's approval, Wu Jingjun howled excitedly. Then, he directly jumped out of the quagmire and charged towards the disciples who were rushing over. 10 seconds, it was only 10 seconds. More than half of the 30 Heart Moon sect disciples who rushed over were easily slaughtered by Wu Jingjun. Looking at Wu Jingjun, who was like a bloodthirsty demon, slaughtering her companions like cutting melons, Chen Bingjie couldn't help but snort coldly. Ignoring the stench of the quagmire, she appeared in front of Wu Jingjun in a flash. An ice palm that exuded traces of cold air directly pressed towards Wu Jingjun's chest. Hee hee. Looking at the incoming ice palm, Wu Jingjun chuckled. But he didn't dodge and allowed Chen Bingjie's ice palm to hit his chest. At the same time, he also raised his fist and smashed it towards Chen Bingjie fiercely. Looking at the fist coming towards her, Chen Bingjie couldn't help but frown. According to the normal attack speed, she who attacked first would definitely attack Wu Jingjun first. Then, what confidence did Wu Jingjun have to be able to counterattack while taking her palm? At this moment, Chen Bingjie was faced with 2 choices. The first choice was to believe that her ice palm could directly injure Wu Jingjun. Then, Wu Jingjun's counterattack wouldn't pose any threat. The second choice was to give up the attack of the ice palm and dodge Wu Jingjun's counterattack. All kinds of thoughts flashed through her mind. Chen Bingjie, who cherished her life, finally chose the second choice, which was to temporarily give up the attack of the ice palm and then use the advantage of her speed to dodge Wu Jingjun's counterattack. What a pity! Seeing Chen Bingjie give up the attack of her own accord, Wu Jingjun secretly sighed. The reason why he didn't dodge just now was because he wanted to use Chen Bingjie's ice palm to test the defense of his perfect physical body. If the perfect physical body could withstand the attack of the ice palm, then it would prove what Yu Haoran said. The perfect physical body of a martial warrior could withstand the full blow of an opponent of the same level. If the perfect physical body couldn't withstand the attack of the ice palm, the bloodthirsty physique that had already been activated could also offset part of the power of the ice palm. Chapter 211. In the Blue Moon's Secret Realm, in front of the quagmire, Chen Bingjie's active dodging had caused Wu Jingjun to lose the opportunity to test his perfect physical defense. Although it was a pity, Yu Shixiang had reminded him to finish off his opponent as soon as possible. As such, Wu Jingjun could only put away his pity and charge at Chen Bingjie with a roar. Looking at Wu Jingjun, who was attacking again, Chen Bingfa didn't dodge this time. Instead, she directly blocked Wu Jingjuan's fist with her white and tender hands. As the palm and fist collided, Chen Bingjie immediately felt an enormous force that she could not withstand. This enormous force numbed her arm and made her unable to withstand the impact of the force. She could not help but take a dozen steps back. After that, she spat out a mouthful of blood and her face instantly turned pale. However, the paleness of her face matched her icy temperament even more and made her look even more alluring. Looking at Wu Jingjun in shock, Chen Bingjie's face was filled with disbelief. Chen Bingjie knew Wu Jingjun and Yu Haoran better than the average person. Especially Yu Haoran, who had killed his way to the Enforcer Peak alone and used the secret transformation technique. Not only had he forced the Martial Emperor Peak Master Gao Wanping to take a step back, but he had also allowed Yu Haoran to empty the entire Enforcer Peak of the Enforcer Peak of the Martial Emperor realm. At that time, when she had learned of this news, she had developed a strong interest in Yu Haoran. With her outstanding appearance and extraordinary family background, she had carefully investigated Yu Haoran. Although she could not find out any information about Yu Haoran in Pingyang City in a short period of time, she had already investigated most of his experiences after he joined the 100 Qi Gate and joined Qinyun Peak. In her opinion, the disciples of the 100 Qi Gates faction had misjudged Yu Haoran's cultivation and strength. Yu Haoran, who had the secret technique to transform into a Tier 5 exotic beast, could totally go and fight for some top spiritual herbs that could quickly raise his cultivation and strength, without affecting his foundation and potential. Therefore, in her opinion, Yu Haoran, who had only been in the sect for a month, should at least be at the peak of 6th grade martial warrior. His true strength should be at the peak of 9th grade martial warrior. As for Wu Jingjun, who was by Yu Haoran's side, she didn't pay as much attention to him as she did to Yu Haoran. However, while investigating Yu Haoran, she also paid attention to Wu Jingjun. With regards to this genius with a special constitution, Chen Bingjie estimated that his cultivation was at most at the peak of 3rd grade martial warrior. With the help of his special constitution, his strength would be at most 4th grade or 5th grade martial warrior. But in reality, the exchange with Wu Jingjun earlier showed that not only had Wu Jingjuan's cultivation reached the peak of 9th grade martial warrior, his true strength had probably reached 2nd grade martial master. Enduring the pain of her internal organs being attacked by a powerful force, Chen Bingjie realized that Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun were far more outstanding than she had imagined. Moreover, from the respect and obedience Wu Jingjun had shown when facing Yu Haoran earlier, it showed that Yu Haoran's strength was even greater than Wu Jingjuan's. This showed that Yu Haoran's character was worthy of Wu Jingjuan's respect. Thinking of this, she originally only wanted to play around with Yu Haoran and use his secret transformation technique to lay a solid foundation for herself in the early stages of cultivation. However, she now had a change of heart. At the same time, she had an indescribable feeling in her heart that Yu Haoran's future talent and potential would not lose to the core and successor disciples of the 7 top sections. His future achievements might even surpass the leaders of the 7 top sects and become a peerless expert that could influence the entire Tianxian continent. Yu Haoran, can you let us go? Since she already had the intention to further their relationship, Chen Bingjie naturally could not continue to fight. Moreover, she also knew that if she continued to fight, her side would be completely annihilated. Therefore, she put away her cold temperament and pleaded with a very tender expression. Let's go. Seeing the sudden change in Chen Bingjie's attitude, Yu Haoran thought for a moment and finally decided to let Chen Bingjie and the others live. Because Chen Bingjie's family background was extraordinary, with his and Wu Jingjuan's current strength, they could not engage in an intense conflict with this kind of power for the time being. Moreover, whether it was in his previous life or this life, he did not have much interaction with Chen Bingjie and did not have any grievances. Letting her live for the time being would not make him feel uncomfortable. Thank you, Yu Shixiang. Thank you, Senior Brother Wu. Seeing that Yu Haoran did not have the intention to kill them all, Chen Bingjie could not help but feel happy. Because this showed that Yu Haoran was not a heartless person. Since he was not a heartless person, in the face of her peerless appearance, he would be moved sooner or later and would become her man sooner or later. Phew! After Chen Bingjie left the quagmire with the remaining 20 disciples, Yu Haoran let out a long breath of turbid air and then got up to leave the quagmire. Yu Shixiang, has your physical body also reached the perfect state? Looking at Yu Haoran, who was leaving the quagmire, Wu Jingjun hurriedly asked. Regarding the conflict with Chen Bingjie and the others just now, whether it was Yu Haoran or Wu Jingjun, they did not take it to heart at all. Because after entering the Blue Moon secret realm, they had experienced such conflicts many times and had long been used to it. That's right. Yu Haoran nodded happily and admitted. He did not know if it was because of his physique or because the perfect physical body did not have much to do with the realm. Originally, Yu Haoran thought that after his physical body had broken through to the perfect 10th stage, his physical body would naturally reach the perfect state. However, when his physical body had broken through to the perfect 10th stage, he realized that his physical body still had room for improvement. However, simply continuing to absorb energy or taking elixirs that could improve his physical body did not have any effect. He did not expect that the 5 elements spirit qi contained in the exotic beast feces would eventually allow him to reach the perfect state of his physical body. This also meant that there were many geniuses in this world who mistakenly thought that their physical body had reached the perfect state. In fact, their physical body still had a trace of flaw and had yet to reach the perfect state. The only thing that Yu Haoran felt was a pity was that perhaps the Yuan Li in his dantian was too dense, or perhaps the 5 elements spirit qi contained in the exotic beast feces in the quagmire was too little. In the end, the Yuan Li in his dantian was only purified by nearly half. Yu Shixiang, can the perfect physical body really withstand an all-out attack from an opponent of the same realm? After receiving Yu Haoran's affirmative answer, Wu Jingjun felt happy for Yu Haoran and could not help but ask the doubts in his heart. Jingjun, the Yuan Li in your dantian has been purified by the 5 elements spirit qi and your physical body has reached the perfect state. In addition, the bloodthirsty physique has been continuously activated. Your current strength is almost at the peak of 2nd stage martial master. Chapter 212. In the Blue Moon secret realm, in front of the quagmire. Great! After hearing Yu Haoran's detailed explanation, Wu Jingjun couldn't help but feel overjoyed. Due to the limitation of speed, when facing opponents who were not much weaker than him, but who were very fast, he would have to deal with them. Yu Haoran would either deal with them personally or let them leave. The reason was that he, who was at a disadvantage in terms of speed, could only passively take a beating. Now that his physical body had reached a perfect state, He could withstand an all-out attack from an opponent of the same level without using any defense. Although he still couldn't escape the situation of passively taking a beating, he didn't have to worry about getting injured and affecting his condition. In fact, he could even exhaust his opponent to death by relying on his perfect physical body. Hurry up and find a place to wash up and change your clothes. Looking at the black mud on Wu Jingjuan's body and the stench on his body, Yu Haoran reminded him. Yu Shixiang, I remember that there is a low-lying spring 10 miles away from the quagmire. Why don't you go there and wash up? If Yu Haoran hadn't taken the initiative to mention it, Wu Jingjun, who was attracted by the perfect physical body, wouldn't have noticed his current condition. However, after hearing Yu Haoran's reminder, he suddenly felt a sourness in his stomach and quickly suggested, "Okay." Nodding his head, Yu Haoran grabbed Wu Jingjuan's arm and rushed to the low-lying spring as fast as he could. Sizzle! After changing into a new set of clothes, Wu Jingjun couldn't help but take a deep breath, and a satisfied expression appeared on his face. Although it wasn't as exaggerated as Wu Jingjuan's, Yu Haoran also felt refreshed after getting rid of the stench on his body. Then, he looked into the depths of the secret realm and began to consider his next plan. Originally, according to his initial plan, he had planned to go to a very special group of red rock. Because in that group of red rocks, there were 3 red star coral zoysia of different ages that could purify blood impurities. The red star coral Ganoderma, according to its age, size, color, grade, and effects, was also very different. According to the information that Yu Haoran had obtained from his previous life, the highest grade of the 3 red star coral zoysia in the red rocks had reached the first grade of the 7th grade. Yu Haoran planned to leave the highest grade red star coral zoysia for Wu Jingjun. This was because the red star coral zoysia could not only purify the impurities in the blood, but it could also greatly increase the power of one's bloodline. To Wu Jingjun, who possessed the bloodthirsty physique, this was undoubtedly a top-notch elixir. Yu Haoran believed that by relying on the red star coral zoysia, which had reached the first grade of the 7th grade, he would be able to fully activate his bloodthirsty physique and reach a level where his strength would be on par with his own. If he relied on the red star coral mushroom to fully unlock his bloodthirsty physique, then Wu Jingjun would be able to unlock his bloodthirsty physique at least 50 years earlier than in his previous life. Apart from Wu Jingjuan's own hard work, he himself probably took up a large part of the credit. And this sense of accomplishment and satisfaction was the same as the increase in his own cultivation and strength. However, by relying on the 5 elements spirit qi contained in the quagmire beast's feces, although his physical body had reached a perfect state, the spirit qi in his dantian had only been purified by half. This gave rise to a different idea in his heart. Although the 100 Qi Gate was a second-rate sect, the geographical location of the 100 Qi Gate, whether it was the density of heaven and earth spirit qi or the number of heaven and earth treasures, was far from being comparable to the Blue Moon secret realm. Yu Haoran was worried that if he was unable to purify all the spirit qi in his dantian before he went into seclusion in the Blue Moon secret realm, then after he left the Blue Moon secret realm, the 100 Qi Gate's ability would not be able to satisfy his need to purify spirit qi. Yu Shixiang, what do you think that is? Just as Yu Haoran was considering whether to first harvest the red star coral zoysia or to find a spirit medicine that could purify the spirit qi in his dantian, Wu Jingjun suddenly pointed to a corner of the spring and exclaimed, "This is..." Following the direction of Wu Jingjuan's finger, Yu Haoran saw a tree root that was full of roots. However, it was different from ordinary tree roots. Not only was this tree root alive, it could also move. Yu Haoran, hurry up and leave this place. Thaling, who was helping Yu Haoran forge the second stage of his natal magic weapon in the Victor, suddenly felt an extremely dangerous warning approaching. With the Victor's invulnerability and unbreakable ability, the extreme danger that was rapidly approaching was not directed at him. Therefore, it could only be directed at Yu Haoran. Therefore, Thaling temporarily stopped the forging of his natal magic weapon and checked through Yuhauran's sea of consciousness. When he saw the continuously moving tree root in the corner of the spring, his expression changed and he loudly reminded Meng Chuan. Ever since he met Thaling, Yuhauran had never seen him so panicked. Even when facing an exotic beast at the peak of the 5th rank, even when facing a black gas that could transform into a martial saint expert, he was still very calm. To be able to make him so panicked, it meant that the moving tree root was definitely something extremely dangerous. Go! Grabbing Wu Jingjuan's arm, Yuhauran softly reminded him. Then, he directly circulated all of his spirit qi and escaped the spring at the fastest speed in his life. Just as Yuhauran and Wu Jingjuan escaped from the spring, the originally moving tree root suddenly stopped. The originally gray color instantly turned blood red. At the same time, the place where Yuhauran and Wu Jingjuan were previously standing suddenly had countless tiny red roots. Phew! After completely leaving the spring and confirming that the tree root did not chase after them, Thaling could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Then, he reminded Yuhauran that he could slow down. Thaling, what kind of monster was that tree root just now? It actually made you so panicked. While slowing down, Yuhauran quickly observed the surrounding environment. Finally, he stopped on a green boulder with a wider field of vision and immediately asked. When Yuhauran stood on the green boulder and looked at the spring, Thaling said, "Yuhauran, even if you don't tell me, I will tell you. That is not the root of a plant. It is a kind of exotic beast, a very terrifying exotic beast." Yuhauran did not feel the slightest bit strange about this, because when he led Wu Jingjuan away from the spring, he actually felt a trace of anger from the tree root. This meant that it was a living creature with its own consciousness. Its name is the knotted worm. Seeing Yuhauran frown slightly, Thaling knew that he did not know what the knotted worm was, so he changed the name to explain. If you don't know about the knotted worm, then you must have heard of the famous Su spirit beast. What, you said that the exotic beast shaped like a tree root is the famous Su spirit beast? Hearing Thaling mention the Su spirit beast, Yuhauran was so frightened that he almost fell off the green boulder. The Su spirit beast, ranked 9th among the 10 most terrifying exotic beasts in the Tianxian continent, was a powerful exotic beast that made people tremble in fear. Chapter 213. Inside the Blue Moon's Secret Realm. In his previous life, although Yuhauran had never seen the Su spirit beast, he had seen the beast that was ranked 10th among the top 10 terrifying beasts. That exotic beast slaughtered a heavy-duty city with a population of several million in a short 3 minutes. In that city, not only were there a large number of martial ancestor, martial king and martial monarch experts, there were even 7 martial saint experts. One of the martial saint experts had even reached the peak of the 7th grade martial saint. However, even when the 7 martial saints worked together, they only lasted for less than 5 seconds under the attacks of the terrifying beast before they were devoured. In the next 2 minutes, the millions of living creatures in the city were also unable to escape the fate of being devoured. If the beast ranked 10th was already so terrifying and powerful, then how powerful would the Su spirit beast that was ranked 1 rank higher than it be? No wonder Thaling, who had an extraordinary background, was so flustered. Presumably, even the peak of the 9th grade martial saint, or even the peerless experts of the martial saint realm, would be frightened when facing the Su spirit beast. Looks like you also know about the origin of the Su spirit beast. The drastic change in Yuhauran's emotions made Thaling realize that Yuhauran must have known about the Su spirit beast in his previous life. Although I have never seen the Su spirit beast in my previous life, I have heard of its legend more than once. I know how terrifying it is. After briefly explaining that he once knew some information about the Su spirit beast, Yuhauran asked in doubt, However, pagoda spirit, if the tree root in the spring is truly the Sioux soul beast, one of the 10 most horrifying beasts in the Tianxian continent, then I'm afraid all the souls in the entire Blue Moon's secret realm would have been sucked dry by it. Then why are the beasts in the secret realm still alive and well? The top 10 terrifying beasts of the profound sky continent seem to have come with a mission to destroy the world the moment they were born. No matter what kind of beast it was, as long as it was born, it would definitely bring about a boundless rain of blood. Even if it was besieged by countless experts of the profound sky continent, it would not be afraid of hiding in a corner. It would definitely choose to fight in a suicidal manner. Therefore, he was very puzzled by the actions of the Sioux spirit beast in the spring. Yu Haoran, I don't think I have said that it is the real Sioux spirit beast. Facing Yu Haoran's puzzlement, Thaling laughed and teased him. Although the pagoda spirit did not directly point out that the tree root in the spring was a soul-feeler beast, the pagoda spirit's solemn expression proved that the tree root was a soul-feeler beast. Now, he was denying that he had once said that the tree root was a spirit-beard beast. Facing the tower spirit's ridicule, Yu Haoran was speechless. Actually, that's the Sioux spirit beast spirit beast spirit beast 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 spirit beast beast spirit beast 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 spirit beast beast. Seeing that Yu Haoran was at a loss for words, Thaling stopped joking and explained the real situation of the Sioux spirit beast in detail. Thaling, why were you so nervous just now when it was the remnant body of a Sioux soul beast whose consciousness was on the verge of collapse? When Yu Haoran heard that the Sioux soul beast in the spring was just a remnant of a Sioux soul beast without much vitality, he secretly let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, he was a little dissatisfied with Thaling's panic just now. Yu Haoran, don't forget that a centipede won't fall down even in death. The Sioux spirit beast is one of the 10 most terrifying beasts in the Tianxian continent. Even if it's a completely dead corpse, we cannot let our guard down, let alone a broken body. Thaling could not help but criticize Yu Haoran's contempt. Shrugging his shoulders, Yu Haoran ignored Thaling and jumped down from the giant green rock. Then, he called out to Wu Jingjun and rushed towards the red rocks where the red star coral zoysia grew. After being frightened by the Sioux soul beast, Yu Haoran finally figured it out. Although there were very few elixirs that could purify one's dantian in the 100 Qi Gates sphere of influence, it was not difficult for him to leave the 100 Qi Gates sphere of influence in a short period of time with his secret transformation technique. Moreover, among the elixir recipes that he had collected, there were a few that could purify one's dantian. He could completely rely on his own alchemy skills to complete the purification process. Furthermore, there were still 8 days before the Blue Moon's secret realm closed. He did not believe that he could not find an elixir or an environment that could purify one's dantian in these 8 days. However, it was different for Wu Jingjun. According to Yu Haoran's experience in his previous life, there was a place in the Tianxian continent where the red star coral zoysia existed. However, the level of danger in that place required one to be at least at the peak of the martial ancestor realm to be able to enter. Only those at the peak of the martial king realm could barely protect themselves. If he waited until his cultivation broke through to the martial king realm, Wu Jingjun would no longer need the red star coral zoysia. Therefore, he had to choose between the lesser of 2 evils and the greater of 2 benefits. He decided to first help Wu Jingjun find the red star coral zoysia that could perfectly activate the bloodthirsty physique. Wu Jingjun, who was used to following Yu Haoran, did not ask him what had happened just now that caused him to be so flustered. Furthermore, he did not ask what their next target was. About an hour after Yu Haoran led Wu Jingjun away from the imperial water in the basin, a group of over 50 people suddenly came to the basin's spring. Senior Brother Gongsun, it's been 2 days. The fresh water we have stored is almost used up. Do you think we should replenish some? In the crowd, A thin disciple who was only at the early 9th grade of martial disciple thought for a long time. Finally, he gathered his courage and asked Gongsun Yiming, who was standing in front of the crowd with a gloomy face. "Junior brother Yuan, let's test the water first and see if it's drinkable. If it's drinkable, then let's store some more." Seeing that the disciple who took the initiative to ask for instructions was junior brother Yuan, who had no foundation in the group and was easily bullied due to his weak personality, Gongsun Yiming withdrew his gloomy face and kindly reminded him. "Senior brother Gongsun, I understand." Nodding his head, junior brother Yuan carried 4 water bags and walked to the basin's spring. Squatting down, he first placed a pill into the spring. After seeing that the pill did not change color, he turned his head and shouted to the group. "There's no problem with the water, you can drink it without worry. Junior brother Yuan, be careful." After hearing junior brother Yuan's signal that there was no problem with the water, Gongsun Yiming took out his own water bag and prepared to store some fresh water as well. After all, the deeper they went into the secret realm, the more dangerous the environment would be, whether it was the strength of the strange beasts or the environment. If they were to be trapped, or if they were to be constantly on the run, storing fresh water in advance might be the key to saving their lives. Chapter 214. In the Blue Moon's secret realm, beside the basin's spring, there was no need to guess that the blood-red roots were up to no good. Therefore, Gongsun Yiming hurriedly warned. However, the disciple surnamed Yuan reacted too slowly and the red roots attacked too quickly. Just as the disciple surnamed Yuan turned his head, the dozen or so red roots entered his sea of consciousness through his facial features. Soon after, the disciple surnamed Yuan turned around. He did not scream in pain, nor did he struggle. He only silently squatted there, motionless. "Junior brother Yuan! Origin water! Origin water, you've got guts! Didn't you hear me calling you?" Everyone present had seen Gongsun Yiming's warning and the attack of the red root. At this moment, when they saw their junior brother Yuan squatting there without moving, a few disciples who were very familiar with him could not help but shout. However, the origin water did not respond. However, in the face of the unresponsive origin water, no one present dared to step forward to see what was going on. "Senior brother Gongsun, what should we do?" After a few minutes of silence, the disciple who had stopped Gongsun Yiming from leaving asked Gongsun Yiming for instructions. Sigh. With a sigh, Gongsun Yiming put away the water bag and took out the long whip that Yu Haoran had given him. Then, he coiled the origin water over. When everyone saw the origin water's appearance, their faces were filled with horror. At this moment, the motionless origin water did not have a single wound on his body. Moreover, he had a very satisfied expression on his face, as if he had obtained what he had dreamed of. "I don't know what's going on either." Seeing the strange death of the origin water, Gongsun Yiming shook his head in front of everyone's gazes. "Senior brother Gongsun, look." Just as everyone was observing the death of the origin water, a disciple who was standing at the periphery and could not see the exact situation of the origin water looked at the basin spring in boredom and shouted in horror. After hearing that disciple's terrified shout, everyone looked at the basin spring. Then, uncontrollable fear appeared on their faces. Some of the more cowardly disciples were so scared that they were trembling all over. This was because countless red roots that had attacked the origin water had suddenly appeared above the spring water in the depression. These red roots floating on the surface of the water were like life-taking chains that could take away his life at any time. "Senior brother Gongsun, what should we do?" Looking at the swaying red roots, a few timid disciples asked with trembling voices. "What else can we do? Let's run." Recalling the strange state of the origin water when it died and the speed at which the red roots attacked, he, who had been taught a lesson by the white jade dragon python, did not continue to hold himself back this time. Instead, for the first time, he was sincerely thinking for himself. Junior brothers, life and death are decreed by fate, riches and honor are determined by the heavens. Whether or not you can escape the attack of the Redroots will depend on your own luck. After leaving behind a pessimistic encouragement, Gong's son Yiming immediately unleashed all his strength and desperately escaped from the spring water in the depression. Gong's son Yiming's escape seemed to have agitated the Redroots. The Redroots that were originally only 2 to 3 centimeters long instantly grew countless times longer. Then, like lightning, they pierced towards the fleeing disciples. "Senior brother Gongsun, save me! Gong's son Yiming, if I manage to escape with my life, I will definitely inform the sect elders. You and your sister will definitely suffer. Senior brother Gongsun, I was wrong. Please save me." Although Gong's son Yiming, who had unleashed all his strength, was slightly slower than the Redroots, he was the first to escape. Behind him, his junior brothers scattered the attacks of the Redroot. This allowed him to gradually pull away from the Redroot. After hearing the pleas and threats from his junior brothers, Gong's son Yiming could not help but laugh coldly. "Back then, it was because of your threats that I lost the opportunity to obtain the white jade dragon python's birth. Now, at this moment of life and death, you are threatening me again. F***ck. I, Gong's son Yiming, am going to risk it all. Even if you escape the attack of the Redroots, even if you complain afterwards, I will just betray the ancient town sect and join Qingyun Peak." After making up his mind, Gong's son Yiming not only ignored the threats behind him, but also did not even look back as he quickly left the spring water in the depression. "Senior brother, what is this place?" Wu Jingjun asked in surprise as he looked at the boundless group of rocks that were all red in color. "I also do not know where this place is, but I know that in this group of red rocks, there are 3 spiritual herbs that can completely activate your bloodthirsty physique." Yu Haoran, who was also shocked by the group of red rocks, took a deep breath, adjusted his state of mind, and replied, "Spiritual herbs that can completely activate your bloodthirsty physique." After hearing Yu Haoran's reply, Wu Jingjun was pleasantly surprised and felt grateful again. However, after joining Qingyun Peak together, he had received too many gifts and help from Yu Haoran. He had already experienced gratitude countless times. Therefore, he quickly regained his composure and asked, "That's right, it is a top spiritual herb called the red star coral mushroom. It is a very rare spiritual herb that can be used to purify the impurities in the blood and increase the power of the bloodline." Yu Haoran nodded and explained in detail. "Let's go." After explaining the effects of the red star coral mushroom, Yu Haoran stepped into the group of red rocks. After stepping into the group of red rocks, Wu Jingjun suddenly smelled a very familiar scent. This scent faintly caused his bloodthirsty physique to automatically activate. A scent that could directly cause his bloodthirsty physique to automatically activate, unless it was that scent. Therefore, Wu Jingjun couldn't help but ask, "Yu Shixiang, could this smell be?" "That's right, it's the smell of fresh blood." Yu Haoran nodded and confirmed Wu Jingjun's guess. "Yu Shixiang, to dye all the rocks here red, how much blood would you need?" Even though Wu Jingjun was more bloodthirsty because of his bloodthirsty physique, he could only ruthlessly slaughter 100 or so exotic beasts at once. If he wanted to dye all the rocks that stretched as far as the eye could see red, perhaps even a few million lives wouldn't be enough. After hearing Wu Jingjun's exclamation, Yu Haoran couldn't help but sneer. Slaughtering millions or tens of millions of lives at once was something he had witnessed more than once in his previous life. There were even some sanctimonious gentlemen who had committed a tragedy of slaughtering close to 100 million lives. Therefore, the most worthless thing in the Tianxian continent was neither the weeds by the roadside nor the rocks that remained unchanged for 10,000 years. It was the humans who thought they were very noble. However, he couldn't tell Wu Jingjun about all this for now. That was because he had too little experience now and had never truly seen a bloody scene. If he were to rashly tell him, other than disturbing his mind, there would be no benefits. Chapter 2:15. In the Blue Moon's secret realm, among the red rocks. Xingjun, there's no need to make a fuss. Among the blood that stained the rocks, there's very little human blood. Most of it is the blood of exotic beasts. Yu Haoran consoled him after carefully identifying the smell of fresh blood in the air. I see. Hearing that most of the blood that stained the rocks was from exotic beasts, Wu Xingjun couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. Although his bloodthirsty physique caused him to be cold and heartless, he was still a human after all. His mentality was still biased towards humans. Be careful. Just as Wu Xingjun couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief, causing him to lose focus, a dark red light struck his heart like lightning. Luckily, Yu Haoran had always maintained a high level of vigilance due to his adventurous nature in his previous life. Therefore, not only did he discover the dark red light at the first moment, he also threw a punch at the dark red light in time. Although the timing of the dark red light's sneak attack was exquisite, Yu Haoran's punch was even faster. Just as the dark red light was about to hit Wu Xingjun's heart, his fist, which was wrapped in his physical strength and elemental energy, directly shattered the dark red light. The shattered dark red light turned into a pool of blood and splattered on Wu Xingjun's chest. Ah! Just as most of the splattered blood landed on Wu Xingjun's chest, an unbearable scorching pain caused him to cry out in pain. Seeing the green smoke rising from Wu Xingjun's chest, Yu Haoran's expression changed as he hurriedly reminded him, "Quickly take off your shirt. Yu Shixiang, what exactly was that dark red monster?" After taking off his shirt, Wu Xingjun couldn't help but ask with lingering fear after seeing the palm-sized wound on his chest from the splattered blood. One had to know that he possessed a perfect physical body that could withstand an all-out attack from an opponent of the same cultivation level. Furthermore, due to the influence of the smell of blood from the red rocks, his bloodthirsty physique had always been in the process of being activated. Even so, he was still burned by the dark red monster's corpse, which indirectly showed how terrifying that monster was. If it weren't for Yu Haoran's timely help, the dark red monster would have pierced through his heart. At that time, no matter how many tricks Yu Haoran had up his sleeves, he wouldn't have been able to save his life. Yu Haoran took out a medicinal pill for external injuries from his storage ear and threw it to Wu Xingjun as he explained. "If I'm not mistaken, that should be one of the 5 poisonous beasts, the black scorpion beast. Yu Shixiang, I remember that the black scorpion beast's color should be dark gray, and its attack power and speed shouldn't be this fast. The poison in its body shouldn't be this strong either." Shaking his head, Wu Xingjun questioned Yu Haoran's judgment of the black scorpion beast. "You are right." Nodding, Yu Haoran continued to explain. However, due to the influence of the red rocks, this black scorpion beast should have mutated, causing its color, attack speed, and poison to be even stronger. Speaking up to this point, Yu Haoran glanced at the red rocks that stretched as far as the eye could see. His expression was solemn as he exhorted, "Xingjun, from now on, you have to be on high alert at all times to prevent any sneak attacks from the black scorpion beasts." Nodding his head vigorously, Wu Xingjun indicated that he already understood. Afterwards, the two of them maintained a high level of alertness and continued to go deeper into the red rock. Just as the two of them were less than 20 meters deep into the red rocks, 3 dark red lights of different sizes and shapes rushed towards Yu Haoran and Wu Xingjun like lightning. Although the dark red lights were very fast, for Yu Haoran and Wu Xingjun, who were on high alert, they didn't pose much of a threat. With 1 punch and 2 palms, they easily dealt with the 3 dark red lights. Yu Shixiang, the 3 dark red lights just now must be the azure silk snake, 1,000-legged centipede, and 8-clawed spider of the 5 poisons. After dealing with the 3 dark red lights, Wu Jingzhong looked at the 3 monster corpses that had been blasted into a puddle of blood and asked for confirmation. That's right. Nodding his head, Yu Haoran didn't say anything else. He only looked ahead with a slightly excited expression. If this place was really as he guessed, the gathering place of the 5 poisons, then in the core of the red rocks, other than the red star coral mushroom that could help Wu Jingzhun awaken his bloodthirsty physique, there was probably an even more precious treasure. If he could obtain that treasure and then merge it with 18 types of top-grade spiritual herbs that contained huge amounts of poison, then under the martial saint realm, he would have a trump card that could kill anyone he wanted 3 times. Taking a deep breath, Yu Haoran began to speed up into the red rock. Huff! After being over 200 miles away from the Bottomland Spring, Gongsun Yiming abruptly stopped as he started to gasp heavily. Although his true strength was already at the middle stage of second-grade martial master, continuously using movement martial skills to consume Yuanli had pushed his physical strength and Yuanli to the limit. 200 kilometers, nearly 500 kilometers, the red roots probably wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Therefore, after stopping using movement martial skills, Gongsun Yiming hurriedly found an open space and used pills and spiritual stones to quickly recover his physical strength and Yuanli. After more than an hour, Gongsun Yiming, who had recovered his physical strength and Yuanli with the help of pills and spiritual stones, opened his eyes. Afterward, he stood up and took out a map from his sleeve. Then, according to his escape route, he carefully searched for his current location. When he saw that his location was less than 10 kilometers away from a red dot marked on the map, Gongsun Yiming revealed a solemn expression. Regardless of whether those people escaped the attack of the Red Roots in the end, if I'm the only one returning to the sect when the Blue Moon's secret realm closes, those old fellows in the sect will definitely not let me off easily. Since that's the case, I might as well take a gamble and see if I can obtain the poison source within the Red Rock. As long as I can obtain the poison source, even if those old fellows in the sect want to deal with me, they will have to consider whether they can withstand the power of the poison source. Thinking of this, Gongsun Yiming put away the map and hurried towards the Red Rock. About 6 kilometers to the west of Gongsun Yiming, a group of more than 30 people was also using the map to determine their location. When they saw that they were less than 10 kilometers away from the Red Rocks, most of them agreed to enter the Red Rocks, as if the Red Rocks had an irresistible temptation. Chapter 216. In the Blue Moon's secret realm, among the Red Rocks. Jingzhun, I'm afraid that this Red Rock group is different from the information I obtained. Yu Haoran said solemnly as he carefully dug out a red spiritual herb that was emitting a strong bloody fragrance. Without adding anything, Wu Jingzhun only looked at Yu Haoran. Actually, even if he wanted to add something, he didn't know what to add. That was because he knew nothing about the Blue Moon's secret realm and the Red Rock group in front of him. Originally, I thought that there would only be the red star coral zoysia that could help you fully activate the bloodthirsty physique in this Red Rock group dyed with blood. There wouldn't be any other treasures. But now, it seems that this Red Rock group is probably one of the dangerous places with many treasures in the Blue Moon's secret realm. Nodding his head, Wu Jingzhun agreed with Yu Haoran's conjecture. Because they were only about 10 miles deep into the Red Rocks, although they had unexpectedly obtained more than 10 precious spirit herbs, they had also suffered no less than 100 sneak attacks. If it wasn't for the fact that the two of them had the strength to challenge those of a higher rank, and that their bodies had reached a perfect state, they would have died under the sneak attacks of the 5 poison exotic beasts. Since it's a dangerous place, then there will definitely be dangers that we can't predict. So, for the rest of the journey, not only do we need to continue to be vigilant, we also need to be prepared to leave the Red Rock group at any time. In his previous life, after exploring so many ruins and dangerous places, Yu Haoran was able to live safely. Other than being prepared beforehand, it was also related to being able to adapt to the situation. If the dangers of the ruins he was exploring far exceeded his abilities, he would leave decisively no matter how precious the treasures were. Yu Shixiang, you don't have to think too much about me. Even without the red star coral Zoisha, I can completely activate the bloodthirsty physique in a short period of time by devouring the flesh of exotic beasts. Hearing the seriousness in Yu Haoran's tone, Wu Jingju knew that the red rock group in front of him was probably more dangerous than he had imagined. Even without the help of the secret devouring technique, he did not want Yu Haoran to take the risk for him. Moreover, the secret devouring technique could also achieve the same effect as the red star coral Zoisha. Therefore, he immediately expressed his attitude, hoping that Yu Haoran would leave the red rocks without considering his bloodthirsty physique if there was any danger he couldn't deal with in the red rocks. Do your best, Yu Haoran said with a solemn expression. After that, the two of them increased their vigilance and continued to go deeper. Half an hour later, just as the two of them entered a group of red rocks, they vaguely heard a series of messy footsteps. Judging from the sound of the footsteps, the owners of the footsteps were composed of different species of exotic beasts, and there were many of them. Yu Haoran raised his head and glanced around. His gaze finally stopped on a solid protruding boulder. He reminded Wu Jingju, "Jingju, there are a large number of exotic beasts gathering towards us right now. I'll bring you to that place first." Afterwards, Yu Haoran directly grabbed Wu Jingjuan's arm and climbed up the solid boulder as quickly as possible. Just as they climbed up the solid boulder, countless red scorpions, spiders, centipedes, snakes, and toads scuttled out from the bright red ground between the rocks. After a careful calculation, Yu Haoran realized that the number of 5 poison exotic beasts gathering towards them was uncountable. It was as if all the 5 poison exotic beasts in the red rocks had been mobilized. With such a large number of 5 poison exotic beasts, even if the two of them were to kill them all, they would still be exhausted. As such, Yu Haoran hurriedly took out 10 level 7 medicinal pills for recovering stamina and elemental energy from his storage ring. "Jingju, keep these pills in your mouth. If your stamina and elemental energy run out, use these pills to recover immediately." He passed 5 of the pills to Wu Jingju and instructed him carefully. "Don't worry," Wu Jingju said as he passed 5 of the pills to Wu Jingju. "Jingju, if you still can't defeat these 5 poison exotic beasts after taking the last pill, we will have to launch a sudden attack and evacuate the red rocks as much as possible." "Yu Shixiang, I understand." Wu Jingju forcefully suppressed the bloodthirsty physique that had already been activated. After receiving the pill, he nodded with a serious expression. Just as Wu Jingju put the pills in his mouth, Yu Haoran took the initiative to attack. "Do it." There were too many 5 poison exotic beasts, and they were starting to surround him and Wu Jingju from all directions. If they wanted to preserve a path of retreat, they had to disrupt the 5 poison exotic beasts' encirclement first. As such, Yu Haoran immediately used his elemental energy to conjure 2 giant palms. He aimed them in one direction and attacked the 5 poison exotic beasts with all his might. Fortunately, although there were a lot of 5 poison exotic beasts, their grades weren't high. Not only that, after losing their advantage in speed and venom, they were even weaker than ordinary exotic beasts. As such, even though countless 5 poison exotic beasts were constantly replenishing their numbers, Yu Haoran still managed to blast open a path of retreat for them in the end. As for Wu Jingju, although he wasn't skilled in palm techniques, he used his elemental energy to create illusionary fists and similarly killed countless 5 poison exotic beasts in the other direction. At the same time, due to the ferocity of his fist technique, the ground in the direction he was attacking was smashed into smithereens by his huge fist. Although the shattered stone path wasn't suitable as a path of retreat, it wasn't suitable for the 5 poison exotic beasts to settle down, either. That was how they managed to break through the 5 poison exotic beasts' encirclement. Boom! Boom! Seeing the endless stream of 5 poison exotic beasts gathering around them, Yu Haoran and Wu Jingjun didn't hold back in the slightest. Every punch and palm strike contained their full strength. Although doing so consumed a lot of elemental energy, they had no choice but to go all out for the time being in order to completely intimidate the 5 poison exotic beast. After unleashing over 30 palm strikes in a row, killing close to 100,000 5 poison exotic beasts, Yu Haoran's elemental energy reserves in his dantian were nearly 60% depleted. No matter what, he had to ensure that his dantian's elemental energy reserves were above 50% at all times, in order to preserve the strength to counterattack and retreat. As such, when his elemental energy reserves in his dantian exceeded 50%, he temporarily slowed down his attacks and swallowed the medicinal pills he had prepared beforehand. Seeing Yu Haoran's attacks slowing down, even more 5 poison exotic beasts swarmed towards Yu Haoran, as if they could tell he was at a disadvantage and wanted to take advantage of the situation to surround and kill Yu Haoran. With the help of 5 7th-grade first-grade energy recovery pills, Yu Haoran's elemental energy quickly recovered to 80%. Chapter 217. In the Blue Moon Secret Realm, within the group of red rocks. Seeing the increasing number of 5 poison exotic beasts in front of him, Yu Haoran once again erupted with all his strength, directly killing the large number of 5 poison exotic beasts that had just gathered. Seeing Yu Haoran regain his strength, the 5 poison exotic beasts that had been continuously gathering over immediately went into a commotion. Although the commotion quickly returned to normal, the 5 poison exotic beasts that were surrounding Yu Haoran were clearly not as fierce as before, be it in terms of momentum or charging speed. Although the commotion caused by the 5 poison exotic beasts was quelled in a very short period of time, Yu Haoran, who had been paying attention to the situation around him, noticed it. Through the commotion and quelling, Yu Haoran knew that behind these 5 poison exotic beasts, there must be a higher-ranked and more intelligent 5 poison exotic beast controlling them. Otherwise, the disturbance from before wouldn't have been quelled so quickly. Therefore, if he wanted to repel the 5 poison exotic beast siege, he had to find the higher-ranked 5 poison exotic beast leader that was in charge of commanding the 5 poison exotic beasts' attack. Unfortunately, the Blue Moon Secret Realm's special law restrictions prevented Thaling from using his divine sense. Otherwise, he only needed to use his divine sense to lock onto the leader. Then, with his strength and speed, he could easily take the enemy's head from an army of 10,000. Yu Haoran, southeast, 370 meters, there's a 9th-ranked peak 9th-rank scorpion beast. It's the leader of the scorpions. Just as Yu Haoran was regretting that he couldn't use Thaling's divine sense to lock onto the leader of the other party, Thaling in his consciousness suddenly reminded him. After so many times of tacit cooperation, Yu Haoran didn't ask how he discovered the leader of the scorpion beasts. He instinctively mobilized all his strength, then used his speed at the peak of the greater success stage to directly rush to the location Thaling pointed out. To Yu Haoran, 370 meters was only a matter of 2 to 3 breaths. Therefore, just as the dark red scorpion beast that was 5 to 6 times larger than an ordinary scorpion was anxiously giving the order to attack, Yu Haoran suddenly appeared in front of it. There was no need for Yu Haoran to differentiate. He knew that this dark red scorpion in front of him was the leader of the 5 poison exotic beasts. Under the scorpion leader's incredulous gaze, the giant palm formed from elemental energy was caught and knocked unconscious. The moment the larger scorpion leader was stunned, the scorpion tribe that had been attacking Wu Jingjun with all their might suddenly burst out with even greater harassment. Among the 5 poison exotic beasts, the scorpions wanted to retreat after losing their leader, while the other 4 exotic beasts continued to surround and attack Wu Jingjun with all their might under their leader's command. One side wanted to leave, while the other side continued to attack, resulting in an intense conflict. The king had personally given the order to kill the 2 humans, but the scorpions had actually retreated without a fight. This immediately angered the leaders of the other 4 group. As low-end exotic beasts, they didn't have too many complicated thoughts in their worldview. All they had was obedience. As such, when they saw the scorpion tribe actually daring to disobey the king's orders, the leaders of the other 4 groups immediately gave the order to exterminate their own tribes. Afterwards, Wu Jingjun discovered to his surprise that the 5 poison exotic beasts that had been attacking him with all their might suddenly started killing each other. This caused him to temporarily lose his opponent. Turning his head to look at his side, he realized that Yu Haoran still hadn't returned. He immediately knew that the reason for the 5 poison exotic beasts' rampage must have been Yu Haoran's doing. Since Yu Shixiang had found a way to resolve the danger of the 5 poison exotic beasts surrounding and attacking him, Wu Jingjun directly jumped off the huge rock and started devouring and refining the corpses of the 5 poison exotic beasts that had just been killed. The 5 exotic beasts were evenly matched in terms of strength, but the scorpion tribe was at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. They were quickly slaughtered by the other 4 exotic beasts. However, just as the scorpion tribe was about to be wiped out, the 1,000-legged centipedes suddenly became restless and tried to leave the battlefield, just like the scorpion tribe earlier. In the end, they were surrounded and attacked by the other 3 groups. Yu Haoran 290 meters to the west. After capturing the scorpion tribe, 1,000-legged centipede tribe, spider tribe, and snake tribe, Yu Haoran finally arrived in front of the toad tribe's leader under Thaling's reminder. Yu Haoran couldn't help but feel elated when he saw that the toad tribe's leader was over 70 centimeters in size and had a pair of protruding eyes that were speckled blue. The giant elemental energy hand directly stunned the toad tribe's leader, then shrunk and brought the toad tribe's leader in front of him. After careful observation, Yu Haoran discovered that although the toad tribe's grade wasn't high, the toxins in its body were of very high quality. It was very difficult to find a toad of this quality outside the Blue Moon's secret realm. Thaling, I wonder if the victor can store living mutated beasts? Yu Haoran asked Thaling as he looked at the 5 mutated beast leaders placed in front of him. If the victor could store living creatures, then these 5 mutated beast leaders would become an endless supply of materials for him to refine poison pills in the future. If the victor couldn't store living creatures, then he could only extract their blood essence and discard their corpses. It can, but the quantity is limited. Furthermore, there is a huge restriction on the strength of the mutated beasts stored. Thaling replied after calculating the number of victor that could be recovered in an area. That's good. Yu Haoran was delighted when he heard Thaling's reply and was able to store living mutated beasts. After Thaling stored the 5 mutated beast leaders into the victor, Yu Haoran asked indifferently, Thaling, explain. I'm afraid that there is an extremely terrifying mutated beast in this group of red rock. Although I don't know if that terrifying mutated beast has broken through the restrictions of the Secret Realm's laws, or if it has broken through the 9th grade, it has the ability to temporarily resist a portion of the power of the Secret Realm's laws. And among the power of the laws, there is a restriction on divine sense. Even if Yu Haoran didn't take the initiative to ask, Thaling would have told him the specific reason. After all, the following trial required the cooperation of the 2 of them. I see. After hearing Thaling's explanation, Yu Haoran nodded to express his understanding. At the same time, a bad feeling arose in his heart. Regardless of whether the mutated beast Thaling spoke of had broken through the limit of the Secret Realm's 9th grade, just the fact that it was able to resist the Secret Realm's laws that even peak martial saints couldn't resist meant that the mutated beast had unimaginable means. Furthermore, judging from the environment of the red rocks and the frenzied behavior of the 5 mutated beasts just now, that terrifying mutated beast was definitely not a kind one. Therefore, whether to continue venturing deeper into the red rocks, and whether to continue searching for the red star coral zoysia, they had to truly understand the situation of the red rock. Thaling, since you're in the red rocks and your divine sense has completely recovered, I wonder if your divine sense can investigate the situation of the red rocks with your current strength? Howren, these red rocks only neutralized a portion of the power of the secret realm's laws. The restriction on divine sense still exists, so my divine sense can only extend to about 5,000 meters at most. Although Thaling's answer disappointed Howren a little, 5,000 meters was basically enough to ensure that he could detect the source of danger in advance. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.